Hey, you guys, hold on one sec before you get started here with this next interview. This interview coming up is with Grant Martin. He is the inventor of Tork Strap. Great interview, learned a lot about him and the product. That was about the first 40 minutes. I got to be honest with you guys, the conversation lasted close to 3 hours, and we went off the reservation, and I can't tell you enough what this interview meant to me. I learned so much, and it was two guys. He actually started interviewing me. How did Gen X Talks get started? But it became two guys on the opposite side of a fence trying to work their way to the middle. That's the best way I can describe it. This will either be one of the greatest interviews we've ever done or the worst, depending on how interested you are on two guys sitting around just like having a beer and honestly talking to each other from, like I said, from opposite sides of a fence. I couldn't be more pleased. I made a new friend, and I'm very thankful he came up. Have a listen. Tell me what you guys think. Welcome to KGXT, Gen X Talks podcast, live from Central California.
Making plans with the boys. I'm gonna hit the town. Yeah, I'm gonna make some noise. I'll push past the pain and my wounded pride. I'm gonna live it up. Yeah, stay out all night. But sure, I've had some better times. And I can't count all the tears I've cried. And maybe down my last time. Yeah, but the blues took me just fine.
All right, so calm down. Everybody calm down. Hold on. Just sit back. Grab your drink. Sit down. Put the cat out. Let the dog in. Cats don't like these interviews as much. Dogs really do. You get the picture. This is not the regular podcast. If you're looking for the podcast where my wife beats me up for an hour, you're in the wrong spot. No, not that. This is one of the interviews. Now, there's a whole section of you guys that dig the interviews because we find the coolest cats around, just regular jabronis like me, like you, and they're doing some amazing things. And this is where we end up. We end up sitting right here, and this one's in studio. It's even better than the Zoom call ones because we're in studio. Now, we've talked about this product before. We've mentioned it on the garage shows, but we haven't had something to show you guys yet. We've talked about it quite a bit, and you guys have been really interested. So at the time I get all the stuff in my hands and I want to go out and play with it, I can't because now I'm doing the interview. But I guess what I'm going to be doing right after the interview, and it's Tork Strap. We've talked about these things. You guys fight with motorcycle straps and bungee cords. You go through all this stuff, and we got Tork Strap, and it is an invention you won't even understand. You won't believe me. You won't get it. And then when you see it, you go, "Oh my God, it actually works." Yeah. And guess who's in studio with me? His name's Grant Martin. This is his gig. This is his brainchild. It's in his hands. It's got his fingerprints all over it. We're going to talk to him. Then we're going to talk about the product. And then you guys are going to go get one. So I'm going to bring him on right now. Grant, thank you very much for joining the program. Thanks for driving all the way up to be in studio. It's much nicer to have you here.
Yeah, 100%, man. I'm really excited. And thanks to you, man. Let's do it.
All right. So before we get into your product, because I have a question. You got to be ready for this. Okay.
I think I'm ready.
I got something for you that I'm like, here's how your product's going to fail, man. Here's the bad part of your product. So I'm going to save that for later. I'm not going to lead with that.
Okay.
We're going to make nice at first, and then I'm going to go. And really, I say that because it's something I don't understand. So if there's something I don't understand, I'm always very skeptical of the unknown, man. But I did watch a bunch of your videos to see how your product works. I am impressed. I have that one question, but let's start back at the beginning. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Where did you go to school? Let's get the background before we get to how you got into making this.
Sure. I was born in a small town called Pekin, Illinois. Right in the butthole of Illinois, if you will, right? Dead center. And I was raised there. I worked construction with my father. He owned a small siding and window company. And, we were always obviously installing siding, windows, things like that, strapping down stuff, pushing down crushed up aluminum in the bed of a truck. And, I'm kind of getting into the story of the product, which I'll kind of
No, it's okay because the Tork strap is like a motorcycle strap that cinches down your load, but it adjusts. So I need to know how you why this was even a concern.
So then the backstory is perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So work construction, my dad hated ratchet straps. Okay. I think a lot of people do. They just don't quite admit they don't really know how they work. They use them differently every single time.
Well, there's a few different designs too. There's the ones that just pull and cinch. There's the ones that actually ratchet.
Exactly.
I do get it. When you don't know how they work and you don't know which side to flip the strap through, it all binds up, and it can be complicated if you don't know. I got that.
And you add 3 or 4 guys looking at you, you know, and you're sweaty or your fingers are frozen shut.
And you're trying to look like you know what you're doing, and you can't quite. Or what's the worst one? When you get ready, you guys are in a hurry, like you say, it's either freezing outside or you're sweating your ass off.
Yeah.
And you pull them out, and the last guy, they're all bound up.
Yeah.
And you can't undo them. And everyone's watching, you're like, God damn it.
There's just endless pain points around this whole subject. So me as a young kid, I'm like 16, 17. I'm looking at this and I'm watching him use bungee cords because that's just the low hanging fruit, right? Cheap,
quick.
That's about all I can say. Cheap and quick.
They don't really hold anything.
Nothing really. And we used them for everything because there's no shortage of bungees behind the seat of the truck. So we're pulling these octopus looking things out, and I'm watching them for years break windows, hit people in the face, chip teeth,
every
name
time.
It. And one day my dad, he was releasing a bungee. You know how you do, you're reaching over the bed of the truck
far as you can,
and you let it go so it doesn't hit your son. He lets it go, and that freaking hook sinks right into the palm of his hand. Old rusty hook, you know?
No.
And whatever. Dad's a tough guy, you know, rough and tough, blue collar, pull it out, keep on working.
Right.
But it just didn't sit right with me, man. I was like, this is silly. There's got to be a better way.
And there wasn't. This was it. This is all we had.
There wasn't. You know, ratchet straps work. They're great. They get extremely tight.
Yeah.
But no matter what you say, they're hard to use for most people. I mean, 8 out of 10 people really don't know how to use them off the shelf.
No.
They fumble their way through it.
Sure.
Guys like you and me, sure, no problem. Throw it together, 6 seconds, crank it
and
down.
the learning curve for not damaging things when you're doing it. If you're hauling junk, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you got to go over the side of a truck or you got to go around some furniture,
right,
there's a little bit of a learning curve. I can't tell you how many friends of mine use ratchet straps and ruin things. By the time they got where they were going, they went, "Oh my God, I've ruined this."
Yeah.
It's absolutely destroyed it.
And there's no manual. Yes, used for dressers, no used for dirt bikes. Like it's just kind of everybody's just doing this hodgepodge,
making it up as you go along.
As they go.
Yeah. So where you're 16, you're seeing the bungee cord thing, you're seeing the metal strap thing, you're not liking it.
Right.
Where do you take that from there? At 16, you're still in Illinois, right?
Yeah. Well, at 16, you do nothing with it. You know, you're a snot-nosed punk kid. You don't know what the hell to do. You think, I have an idea. You call yourself a genius, and then you go on and girlfriends and jobs, and life goes on. So a decade went on. In that decade, you know, moved to Los Angeles, met a woman, got married, kids. And something happened when I turned 30. I had my first daughter, and I'll never forget, I was rocking her one night. She's a month old. And for some reason, I promised her I was going to buy her a Mercedes when she turned 16. She's a month old, doesn't hear, doesn't care, whatever.
But you made the promise.
I made the promise.
All right.
I laid her down in her crib, and I walked down the hall to my bedroom, and I'll never forget feeling like such a phony because I knew that what I was doing now in life wasn't going to put me there.
Right.
Why did you just say that to that little infant?
I get that.
That hit hard.
But I also know why you said it too. I've had 8 kids. I've raised 32 children. Last group of 8. I get what draws you to have that commitment to a 1-month-old baby. I do.
Yeah.
But I also can be hit in the gut with what you just said too about you realize I'm not the right guy for this job.
Yeah. Well, it sucks. And the funny thing is, baby number 2 comes along. You're like, you're not getting shit. But baby number 1 really inspired me. Shout out to Mila. So I said that, and I walked in my room, and you know, at this point in my life, I've been working as a telecommunications electrician for almost 10 years. I've been in the trades for 12 years, let's say.
And what part of LA were you living in?
So I moved to Santa Clarita when I was 25 years old, so back in 2015, just north of where you were raised.
I'm very familiar with the Valley, Santa Clarita,
right?
Valencia. Yeah, that was my stomping grounds growing up, yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I moved there with some friends on a dream to whatever, start a film production company, you know, the stuff you dream up, but I digress. It was fun. We caravanned out here. Long story short, they all left with their, I wouldn't say tail between their legs, but it wasn't for them.
Right. Yeah.
And I made roots, and I stayed in the trades. The film thing didn't work out, so I stayed in the trades. That's what I knew I was familiar. So back to my daughter, you know, made her that promise. At that time, I was working for Los Angeles County. Great job, you know, $90,000 a year. You know, they don't make you do shit. Kind of had it made, health insurance, the whole package. But life was growing around me, and I felt like the bottleneck. An example is, you know, I married a woman who was well educated. Her first job out of college, she was making more money than me. So she's working with colleagues who, they bought a house and this, and then the dude bought the car with the that and the Tesla. And like, okay, cool, you know. And she wasn't demanding, she wasn't pushy, but I saw where this was going. And my whole life, I thought, if I'm a blue collar worker making $30 or more an hour, I can get the house, I can get the truck and the boat. I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But stuff changes, especially when you live in Southern California, you know. So I decided that I was going to have to do something. And that's when I pulled out that old notebook, if you will, the notepad we all have in our phone of invention ideas.
Yeah, all your random thoughts for the last 20 years.
Yeah. And I said, okay, of the 12 of these, which is maybe the most viable, and I'm just going to do it. This is COVID time. We're all trying new shit during COVID, right?
Yeah.
And I just went after it. I mean, I had to Google things as stupid as, can I buy straps from Home Depot, relabel them, and then resell them? Like, is there like a intellectual property police officer going to come to my door? Like, you don't know anything.
Yeah, you know, you're really starting at zero, not knowing what you're allowed to do and what you can do. Yeah, that's tough.
Most people in this industry, I'm finding, it's always a son or a daughter of whomever who has such and such product, and they wanted to branch off and do their own. They kind of see the formula. But for guys like you and me, it is complete fog. There's no handbook. There's nothing.
Agreed.
So that's the story of Tork Strap. And really the logic behind Tork Strap was, let's go back to when I was 16. I love dirt bikes.
Yeah. When
you strap down a dirt bike, you use a pull strap, a cinch strap, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
No ratcheting required.
No, you just, just friction leverage on the little, and it pulled the lever and it pulls down, you're done. Right.
Exactly. And it worked.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why does this work with dirt bikes, with the suspension, but it doesn't work on a dresser? Then I realized it was the suspension in the dirt bike was the secret sauce to why it stayed tight.
Sure, because if you cinch down a dresser, which is a solid object, and it moves around or settles in whatever you stacked it on, now your strap's loose.
Yeah.
But if you cinch down a motorcycle, either the front forks or the back, you can go to the back seat, you know, there's the bar on the back seat, and you cinch it down, the suspension is pushing back up. So even if it wiggles around, that suspension's going to push back up and your strap's going to stay tight.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. So I get that. But see, and so I get the idea of Tork Strap is it's got a built-in suspension. It's got a built-in spring. It's got a built-in bungee. Part of the strap, because when you do it, you know, one of the phrases guys use when you get done strapping down your load, we all say the same thing. That ain't going anywhere.
You got to smack it.
It ain't going nowhere. Mm-hmm. You're done with that. You tie it off and you're done because it's not going to move. Right. You motorcycle strap, you ratchet strap something down, it's done. Yeah. You're cinching that thing now. Unless the load shifts, unless the load moves. It ain't going anywhere, but what's the one rule we all follow? As soon as you cinch down your load, you go, whether it's on a truck bed or a trailer, you get done, you say, well, that ain't going anywhere. And then you get to your first stop down the road, you go recheck your load.
That's the rule.
Because you know that it's shifted, it's settled, it's moved. And what do? You go out there and give a couple more clicks on the ratchet, or you cinch with the motorcycle strap. You have to go readjust your load every time.
And how do you learn that lesson?
The hard way. when you lose stuff.
That's what I'm about. That's what I'm against, man. Like,
right.
You got to idiot-proof everything these days, right? And I hate to say idiot-proof because, you know, you're not stupid if you don't know how to use a ratchet strap.
Right.
You're absolutely normal.
Sure.
You're not stupid if you reach for the bungees because they were cheaper. You thought, what the hell's the difference? This Home Depot bay all looks the same to me.
Right.
I'm going to go with the cheapest price.
Okay. Now, let me try to explain to the listening audience, and I know this will make sense to you, but to them. So if if you have a motorcycle strap or you have a mechanical ratchet, click, 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 click as it goes through, and you say, I want something that's going to keep tension on that, even if the load settles. If my dresser and my things drop down into my bed of my truck a little further, I don't want to have to worry that now my strap's not tight because things have settled, things have moved. All right. So I looked at your product and I looked at a couple of videos. You guys had really good informational instruction videos on, look, this is, in fact, one of them, you guys had something strapped and you had it on a jack and you lowered the jack just to show that now the strap is really loose.
Yeah.
And then your strap followed it. It came down with the load. It kept the tension on it. All right, I got you. Mm-hmm. So now I'm thinking, I'm a mechanic. I'm a dumb mechanic in the middle of the desert. And I'm thinking, all right, what's the magic part of this strap? Because a motorcycle strap, a ratchet strap, doesn't do that. It doesn't adjust. So I looked, and you have a certain section of your strap. There's something in there. There's something hidden. There's something I thought, all right, well, they're just a bunch of really strong bungee cords in there. Mm-hmm. And how strong can a bungee cord be? Mm-hmm. And this gets to my point of the beginning of the interview when I said there's part of it that doesn't sit with me in my head because I don't get it. So let me explain my part in my head that's broken, and you can fix it.
Sure.
If in your motorcycle strap, your Tork strap, this design, you cinch it down and part of the strap has some good strong tension, and as your load settles, that part of your strap will expand or contract and keep good firm tension on whatever you're doing, all you've done is just put a really bitchin' bungee cord in the middle of your motorcycle strap, and I don't like bungee cords because they flex and they're unreliable. They don't work. Mm-hmm. If someone came up to me and said, here's the world's strongest bungee cord, I'd say, sorry, I want a motorcycle strap.
Right.
Because I got it in my head that doesn't work.
Right.
Now, I don't know. I didn't cut one of your products open, which I would. Normally I got to see what's in here. I got to cut open this section and go, what are we dealing with here?
Right.
How did you overcome not just having some flimsy bungee cord in there, which is exactly what we're trying to get away from,
right?
As part of a motorcycle strap? Because now in my mind, it looks like you just combined the two, and this is still not going to work. Now we're back to just putting bungee cords on your load. Educate me.
That's legit. And I love hearing that because it's my job every day to educate people on why they don't ever have to ask any of these questions. But if the question's there, I've not done my job fully.
Well, this is the first thing that I saw, and I went, okay, whatever's in that section is just a bungee cord.
Yeah.
That was my dumb mechanic interpretation. All right. Tell me what I missed.
Well, we got to start with this. It is by no means a bungee cord inside there. What's inside there is a steel spring. 62 Nm steel spring, okay? Oh. But still you're saying, hey, springs overextend. In a shock load, a spring could kaboing.
It could, but my first thing when you said that was the strength. The first thing was like, okay, now I'm not worried about it snapping like a bunch.
Already.
Oh yeah, right when you said that, I was settling down in my chair a little bit, going, okay, tell me more. All right.
Okay, so steel spring.
Yeah.
Right? I started making these with bungees, and I said, no. Because of all the reasons you just said.
Sure.
Bungees are great for newspaper boys banding up newspapers. That's not going to play.
They hold a tarp down pretty well.
They do hold a tarp down well. A lot of these have one job that they do really well. Right. I tried to create something that could do almost all the jobs and do them really well. So we got a steel spring in there. Now beyond that, you're saying to yourself, okay, why wouldn't I just take a regular old pull strap and attach it to a spring and then attach those two to the anchor point in my truck? Well, the problem is, one, that's like duct taping a Polaroid camera to your phone and calling it a smartphone. But the big problem is that spring could overextend and kabam.
Sure.
So what we have implemented in our design is a limiter band. So once that spring extends about 3 inches, that limiter band is going to go taut, and you are locked in at your 1,500-pound braking strength. That's our smallest strap, by the way. At the end of the day, all you really need to know, what is the braking strength of this product?
Right.
Don't worry about the mechanics and all that, and I know that's easy for me to say because we're skeptical.
Right.
And it plays so heavily into my conversion rate. I get 13 milliseconds with an ad seeing me on the shelf. I get 13 milliseconds to make you curious enough to continue reading.
Sure.
Or to eliminate any skepticism, right?
Right.
So I work on that every single day with my art, with my copy, graphic design, you name it. So anyway, we have the limiter band, 1,500 pound. Now you have everything in one compact package. Pull it out of the bag, hook it to one end, hook it to another, rip that fucker as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And it is going to stay banjo tight for the entirety of your load.
And if your load settles an inch, which they all do, you're still tight like you just started.
You're still tight. You don't have to get out and ratchet.
Let me ask you this then. This will be for some of the guys out there who's, because we got a bunch of truck drivers that listen to this stuff too, and they call in.
Sure.
And okay, if you have what length straps do you normally sell? How overall?
14, and then we offer 24-foot extensions as well.
Okay, so let's say on a 14-foot strap, how much of that length is your concealed confined spring area? How much of it is that?
That's about 26 inches is what we call the smart end.
Right.
When that smart end is fully expanded, that's about a 25, 26 inch throw.
Because I know people there's guys going to picture this in their head and go, "Can a 14-foot strap, is it 13 feet of the spring and 1 foot of the strap? Is it you don't know. You know it's going to be smaller, but you're not sure. Is it just inches?" And that sounds respectable. Like you can get some travel out of that.
Yeah.
If you just put it at 8 inches, I'd say that ain't going to cut. That sounds like you got some respectable room to move.
It's about a 7-inch spring, but the whole contraption to have the limiter band and the proper sewing and that 1,500-pound weight rating, that embodiment is about 26 inches, right? And that, as I said earlier, that's going to expand about 3 inches.
Right.
Which with geometry, and I'm not good at math, but with geometry, that generally translates to your load can drop more than 3 inches and you're still going to maintain tension.
Well, and that's going to help out people that are beginning loading stuff tremendously. Now at my age, I get stuff pretty close. My load isn't going to shift that much, but that's 25, 30 years of doing this where you're like, I know how to stack stuff now. I've made all the mistakes. Mm-hmm. Believe me, a product like yours back then would have helped me a ton because, my loads would shift and move and I'd have to I remember there's times I had to redo things on the side of the road because I loaded it wrong.
Yeah.
But you get it close and now, you can go out and as you stop and get gas, you can walk by and, check that strap and you're okay. You don't got to redo everything. I would have loved to have your stuff 25 years ago.
That's music to my ears. Can I share a funny story?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was like 22, 23, and macho man in the trades. I know everything. I'm smarter than you. That type of young shithead mentality. Anywho, we were up in Iowa. My girlfriend's grandmother had died. Whatever. We got a bunch of furniture, and her dad was there too. And I'm loading all this furniture onto this trailer, and her dad's watching me the whole time. You going to use that? I don't know if that's going to hold. Doing that game. And I'm in the trades. I'm 23. I know more than this 55-year-old man.
Right, yeah.
Hey, this is going to be fine. Don't worry. My dad owns a construction company. You don't have to worry about me. I'm flush.
Right.
So halfway back to Pekin, Illinois, I lose the entire trailer load on the interstate, down a ditch, ruined all the furniture. She was on a college budget. This furniture was like make or break for her apartment.
Right.
I ruined everything.
Those
are the types of lessons that guys like you and I have learned. We'll have, young people who aren't going to do a torque strap, you're going to have to learn these lessons. And why? Because I scooped up the wadded up pile of strap knots in the corner of the garage. There was some bungees in it. There was some this, there was some that. And I tried to make it all work, and it didn't work. And I thought I was pretty smart. I mean, I pre-planned this, and I failed, right?
Yeah. Well, I did the one that comes to mind with mine, and I don't know. I'm not sure. This is maybe another aspect of your product I need to ask you about. And I'm sure that you can't account for idiots. You can't account for people not using some common sense. We all know that with every product. But I remember a couple of times moving some stuff for my family and breaking things because I over-torqued it.
Yeah.
And I just kept clicking that ratchet going, all right, that's secure, but one more click. And then the wood snaps. The leg comes off, snaps. The glass broke. So I've done that more than once. How does your And I know it's not idiot proof. Someone can mess up any product, but how does yours relate when you start getting tension down on there? That spring starts stretching a little bit, and the tension on the strap starts gaining. Is there any difference in there between your product and motorcycle straps? Do you still got to be careful what you're doing to a certain degree, or does yours lend any credibility to helping an idiot not break things quite as fast? Because I've done that.
Right. Well, I'll start with this. Something interesting I found over the years, shooting all the videos I have, putting scales on things, tensioning ratchets as tight as I humanly could. When a ratchet strap is kind of taut, every click is another 60 pounds of tension you're throwing on there.
Wow.
So you may have been clicking down your dresser and you had that perfect 120 pounds of tension on it. And you're like, damn, if I could just get this a little more snug. Yeah. And your one more almost doubled the tension on your load. And what happened?
I snapped it. Yeah. Oh, I got it.
So that's the inherent issues with ratchet straps. Again, they get really tight.
Yeah.
No one is here to deny that.
Right.
But tightness isn't always the answer. Dynamic tension is more the answer. But to get to your question, Tork Strap operates with a just pull operation.
Right.
Right? No ratcheting, no snapping,
right.
no pulling and stretching. Well, I shouldn't say no pulling, but no stretching. You hook one end, you hook the other end. You kind of pull that just like a regular cam buckle strap. You pull it kind of snug, and you grip it and rip it. Now, when you rip it, you're going to throw easily. Guys like you and me, easily we could throw 150 pounds of tension on this.
Okay, yeah.
My wife can easily throw 90 pounds of tension.
All right.
But I can also, if I'm just strapping down a hollow plastic tote, I can go a little slower, and just with C-touch feel, you know what that load needs.
Sure,
you see it starting to go.
Yeah, you can see your stuff starting to deform a little bit. You've gone too far.
Yes. So you have the option. You can strap down this plastic water bottle. I could strap this down without damaging it and guaranteeing it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And because this needs exactly, 6 pounds of tension, let's say. So that's the big benefit you get. And it's no different than pulling a rubber band tight. You know when you're in the danger zone.
There. That's the example right there. Exactly. Now it all makes sense. You're right. When you grab a rubber band and you start pulling it apart, you know when you're going too far. You know when it's about to snap. You're right. Yeah. That's a great example.
Well, I don't want to put snapping in anyone's heads, but it's the C-touch feel. It's using your senses.
No, but if you're using a rubber band, you better be ready for it to snap.
Yeah,
use a bungee cord. You better be ready for it to snap. Exactly. Not your product, but theirs. That's how they operate.
100%.
You know when you're close. All right.
Yeah.
So let me. I would like to offer you a suggestion.
Please.
And I think you should implement it right away. And I would like some of the residuals that come from the overwhelming success of what I'm about to impart upon you.
Hand me the contract.
Well, what we need to do is your next series of straps that come out, you can call them the Gen X Tork Strap collection. We'll call it the GXT collection.
Sweet.
I think you need to have a built-in gauge on there where it's a little needle. As people are cinching things down, this torque needle starts going over into the red, and it lets people know you're going a little too far, man. Just a little too far.
Yeah.
That's about as idiot-proof as you can make it. We'll start building straps with dial indicators on them that won't let people torque too much. That's as close as you can get.
It's a great idea. There's no shortage of things you can add to a product to make it more, I shouldn't say idiot-proof as the CEO, but I'm a real human, right?
Yeah.
We have to make stuff idiot-proof. And an example is people will send us a picture that they found on Google of a dresser strapped up against a wall rather than down flat in a bed.
Right.
Hey, your website only has pictures of things strapped down in a bed or down in an SUV.
Sure.
Can I strap it up against the wall? And, I'm looking around like, gosh, this seems like really common knowledge. Yeah, why would that not work? But people need to hear those little
and
things.
There's people that will, there's people that are unsure and they're like, look, I just want to double check before I do this. Let me poke around a little more. Let me fire off an email.
Right.
I get that. And I'm not down on those people. They're actually the ones you want to work with because they're actually trying to get it right. Yeah. They're thinking, they're trying to get it right.
Spend the money when they find the solution.
Right. So you can't put a dial indicator on, just like you can't put a little voice box on a Tork strap that screams, you're doing it wrong.
I've had Bluetooth suggestions. Can there be an app that lets me know when when straps get loose in my truck, and I'm like, if you can find a customer that'll pay for it, I'll make it.
Yeah, no kidding. NASA could probably have some of those, something like that. They probably have those on the space shuttle back in the day, but I don't know about hiding down the 405 if that's going to be an answer. It's not physically viable or financially viable, but I get what you're saying. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. You brought me some stuff to play around with. You brought me some of the product. I'm going to try it. And I don't know if you saw that big old trailer out front. We haul stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. We're moving stuff around it, and we're just getting ready for a big trip. We're going to move a bunch of things up north. And I'm going to show people how these things work. We do a garage show. We did it all last summer, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we do one now Friday nights. And it's one of our fastest growing segments because we just talk about garage stuff. I bring out old tools that I use that nobody uses anymore because they're obsolete. People just ask me generic questions. It is not, by no means is this like a professional, let me tell you how to rebuild a 727 Torque Flight transmission from beginning. No. This is just, why should I go to the dealer? Why should I not go to the dealer?
Am I getting ripped off?
Sure. When do I change? The basic questions that just, we should call it Shade Tree Mechanic Hour because that's really what it is.
Love it.
But we do a lot of drawings and explanations on how things work, basic stuff. And we do things like there's a company called Zero Drive that sent us some tools that have no ratchet. There's no ratchet inside here. It'd be normally going click, 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 click.
Interesting. Of course.
They're building some stuff, and I did an interview with their guy, and he says, and we talk about it on the garage show. We show it to him. We give people links. Here, go buy your stuff and just check it out. That's what I want to do with your stuff. Yeah. I want to show how it works during, I want my wife to follow me out to the trailer with your gear and say, look, this is how it works. Let's unbox it. Let's open it up. Let's put it together. I want to show people why in real time, real life, just a regular guy like me, how your product works and why it's different. Because I've got motorcycle straps. I got bungees. I can show it real easy. Not that they wouldn't believe your videos, but you're a little biased.
Of course I am.
They know I'm not. If there's something messed up, I'll say so. And if it's not, I'm going to hold it up the end and go, this shit works.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do with yours. And we'll do it on 2 or 3 of our garage shows just to show people what's out there.
Yeah.
If you set us up with any kind of a link where they can go and buy your stuff and you want them to do something directly with you guys, just tell me. I don't mind sending them to you. I don't care. If anything I can do to help you guys out, I'm in.
Awesome, man.
You grew up in the same place I did, other than the Illinois when you got out. You were in the Santa Clarita area. I was in the San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita area. You got the same mentality and the mindset. You're trying to build a product that works, that helps people and does a good job, and you want to make a little money as you're doing it. Yeah, that's what we're all into. Every one of us wants to do that.
Yep. I
can't tell you how excited I am to go check some of this stuff out. And mainly because you solved my riddle, man. I told you that one thing in my brain I couldn't get past was that there's got to be a built-in bungee cord, which is going to ruin the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
Then you told me what it was really. Yeah, I made that up in my head. And then you told me what was really in there. Now I get it.
Well, the funny thing is, if you go on Amazon now and you search strap, torque strap, whatever, will come up. And we have a dissected view of the strap. So that sleeve is pulled back in a rendering.
So I'm not the first guy to ask what's in there.
Hell no. I've heard it all. But I love it because no matter, we made that picture. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I made a picture. I'm good. It doesn't matter. You have to make things black and white.
Yeah.
Clear as day. So I thank you for that, Mark.
Well, it was you who did the job when you told me about the spring and then the limiter and how it goes. I pictured it in my head. Now I could see what I was inventing, incorrectly inventing things in my head. Now I didn't know there was this. I must have missed that one. I looked at a lot of your stuff, but I must have missed that diagram. I want to go back and look at that because that'd be something on the garage show when I hold it up and go, then I can put it up on the screen and go, this is what's inside here. Mm-hmm. That makes such a real connection for people when I can say, I'm not cutting this open. This one's mine. You want to see what's in it? Go get your own and cut it open.
Yeah.
But you can show them. And I'm telling you, for a lot of guys, that's going to bridge the gap on I don't see how this works. Now you understand how it works.
Right.
That's great. That's absolutely great. So, hey, listen, I didn't even get to any of the, Jacob wrote all these notes for me that I was supposed to ask you. And, you covered most of them, but it was a few things in here. So you doing this, are you doing this just by yourselves, at you and your wife, or do you have somebody else partnered with that you're going down this road?
Well, this is a 3.5, now 4-year process. When this journey starts, like I said earlier, you're just fumbling your way through what's the first step.
Sure.
How do you even find a Chinese manufacturer? And your first instinct is to make them yourself because,
Right.
hey, I'll just order a bunch of parts and I'll sew them and I'll heat shrink them and attach them and package them. That's fun for a while till you start getting consistently like a dozen orders a day.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now you're just trading one full-time job for another.
Now you realize you're working for $3 an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
So through scale, through trial and error, trial by fire, I'm to a point now where I have one head guy. He was my head of sales, helping me get into different retail and things like that. But he's done so much. He's now our CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, which sounds fancy. We're a bunch of guys in the garage trying to figure all this out,
Yeah,
right? You know,
right.
I'm trying to make something for my family. In business, you don't plan on making buku bucks for the 3 to 5 year mark.
Right.
You're hoping year 7s and 8s, and that's when things get fruitful.
Right.
So me, myself, him, I have one social media manager. I'm super heavy on social media. We're very strict about posting 5 days a week, unique content.
Right.
We're not just recycling pictures. We're not just wishing everybody a happy 4th of July.
Right.
We're trying to bring you something, just like you guys do with Gen
Sure.
X Talks on TikTok.
Yeah.
Just recycling or posting flags, happy 4th, that does nothing for people.
No.
Sure, it's nice, and that's
Well,
in your heart. It's
like
nice.
you said, you get 13 milliseconds. They skim through it and go, "Oh, that was cool."
Yeah.
But it's not sticking with them at all.
So wow, you just wish 13 people a happy 4th of July. But if you put some effort behind it, you could have made 361,000 people have a laugh that week.
Right.
So we're getting into the the nitty gritty of social media, but that's how I manage it now. My core guys, 2 full-time guys plus myself. My wife does her own thing. She helps occasionally. She's extremely smart, computer savvy, which you need. But really, I gotta say, to do this, you have to be ready to do everything yourself.
Yeah, you're right. In the beginning, there's so much hands-on that you got to pay attention to every detail. You can't leave it to someone else. They're not going to get it the way you want it.
They don't care.
No, they don't have the drive that, sometimes they're either just helping out as a friend or they're getting a paycheck. Either way, it doesn't have quite the care that you want put into every product. Everything you put out, from a product that you can sell on the shelf to a video you put out, they're all representative of what you want. That's tough.
Yeah.
Because when the kid started doing Gen X Talks and we started getting bigger, there was a bunch of people, I can help edit and I can help do this, and you bring them in, and then they're not even close to what we're trying to do here.
They're more work than they're worth.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, you and I talked in the beginning before we started recording. You mentioned that you do a podcast down in Southern California area. Tell us a little bit about that. Tork Strap is a great product. It's a great thing. That's why we're here. Yes. But, on the personal side, tell us what Grant's doing with a podcast.
Yeah. It's funny. People probably thinking this guy does a podcast about cargo straps. It is really hard to talk about cargo straps for an hour every week. Right?
Every week, consistently.
I have to figure out how to make 20-second videos every day. That's hard enough, finding subject matter on cargo straps. So no, it's not about cargo straps.
Good.
If you can't tell, I'm really passionate about, my journey from blue collar to inventing, developing, and prospering,
Sure.
right? It's really near and dear to my heart because we're going back to the story of my daughter. I now have a fighting chance to buy her that Mercedes.
Yeah.
And baby number 2 can get a Honda Civic.
That's right.
So it's very, very near and dear to my heart, inventing. It got me out of, I would call a dark place. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't down, but it wasn't fitting. It wasn't working. So as someone who failed algebra in junior year of high school, as someone who assigned that F grade kind of to his life, as someone who decided, well, you better get good at digging holes because, that's all you're going to be doing.
Right.
I can sit here and say that anybody can develop a product. And so I started what's called the Invent, Develop, Prosper podcast. And on there, a buddy of mine named Marcus, he also has a product. We get together once every week or two, and we go over the trials, tribulations, the pitfalls, but really we give an A to Z blueprint of how to do what we're doing.
I'm sure you include a lot of mistakes in there, too.
Tons of mistakes.
Yeah.
Money lost,
Yeah.
dead ends, charlatans, snakes in the grass.
Yep.
I'll give you one example, licensing an invention. Most people think, hey, I got a good invention idea. I'm going to slap a patent on it, call up 3M, and I'm going to collect royalty checks for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's just not that simple, because you really haven't offered them anything. You told them you have a napkin drawing, you have a patent, good for you, but they have to do all the hard work.
Yeah, they got to develop it, prototype it, make it work, and then make it sellable. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
They have their own ideas. They have their own engineers chomping at the bit to go kiss up to the CEO and say, let's try mine, let's try mine. You really think they're going to let your product in over a senior engineer?
I invented a game one time back when I was probably 15 or 16. And this is way before internet, obviously. And I finally found out where in Los Angeles Milton Bradley had an office.
Nice.
So I go down there and I say, hey, I'm going to talk to you about, you know what they told me right there in the lobby? They had me sit there and a guy came out and he was part of their, I don't know what you call them, inventions team or game production. Product development, right.
Sure.
And he goes, we don't take outside games.
There you go.
I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we got a whole team of people inventing games. You think we're going to let you in the door with you got this? I said, but what if I got a really great game and I just want to give it to you and make like 10 cents off for every one you sell or something? You just have it. Just write something up. He goes, not interested. I said, I don't understand. He goes, there's no way you're walking in here. We're not going to our boss. This is what he told me, similar to what you just said. We're not going to our boss and saying, you pay 10 people to sit and invent games every year, and some kid off the street has come in with the best-selling game of the season. We're not having to do it. You make us look stupid. I go, wouldn't you look great for finding me? For keeping your ear to the sidewalk, man, and then you discovered this and how great you are for doing that? He goes, not the way it works. And I was escorted out of the building. It was done.
I've been in similar situations. It's everyone's dream. We all want to create passive income. That's the buzzword of this decade.
Yeah.
You have to create a lot of value. You have to create a lot of proof before you get paychecks. I've owned every single step of the process. And still, I'm the lowest paid employee at my company.
That's not a lie either. I can't even tell you how much that resonates when you do stuff like that. It doesn't matter. I had a shop, I had an automotive repair shop, and all this money's coming across the table, and everybody got paid before me. Everybody got paid at the end. The times that were slow, I was the lowest paid guy working the most hours, and there was benefits to years later. Things started to be more of an income, and so there was more at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But for years, I was the low. But everything, like we go back to, I had to make sure everything was done my way. Mm-hmm. And I had to touch everything and feel everything and make sure that it was, and then work the longest hours, do the most stuff, and then everybody got paid first. I believe what you're saying, 100%. I get it. No, until you're out there in it, that will not make sense to anybody other than, oh yeah, I get what you guys are saying. Mm-hmm. But there's people that have done it that go, I get what you guys are saying. Mm-hmm. I'm right. They've been there, or they're there now. There's people listening right now. But you know what? It's going to give them hope because everybody's at a different part of that on that ladder. If they're trying what we were doing,
right?
You're doing yours. I did mine. It gives people hope to know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, just to keep going. Your podcast could really help some of those people, though.
100%.
What is the name of it again?
Invent, Develop, Prosper. Let me run something by you.
Yeah.
I just changed the name. When I originally started it, it was called Invent With Me because it was just kind of like, hey, you're with me, you're in the shop, and we're going to invent. But that was people thought maybe that would be misleading, like we're going to actually invent things. So, and also what I've learned in this journey, as you have, keywords are so highly crucial when you're trying to be discovered.
True.
So invent with me, these two words are a complete waste, with and me.
Sure.
Invent, develop, prosper, I'm hoping to be more precise with my fishing, if you will.
Yeah.
And there's no reason other than to help people. We don't monetize. You won't hear one single ad in there. It's 100% a passion project. I don't even know why. It drives my wife crazy. She's like, focus on Tork Strap, make us money. And I do what I can.
Sure.
But when you build your systems properly, you have the spare time to work on passion projects. So that's what I'm doing with this. Invent, develop, prosper, to answer your question.
Okay. So just so you know that I want to put that out there for people because there's a specific that guy, there is a niche of people that once you build it, of all these entrepreneurs, all these inventors, every kid out there who's 16 like you were thinking, what do I do with my idea?
Yeah.
You're going to have something for that. I'm going to put your stuff out there as a link on our website. I don't know if it'll get a bunch of hits. I'll put it out on our Discord server. Every now and then I'll drop it out there. Hey, you guys should try this. But you know how much shit I'm going to get from people for pushing another podcast? My wife is going to kick me in the balls. My son is going to try to cut off my feed. He's going to go, what are you doing? It's like, and again, like you and I said in the beginning, before we were even recording, what did I say? I'm more about the connection of like, dude, that's fucking awesome. What can I do to help that? Well, that hurts you. Yeah, I don't care about what can I do? Yeah, well, that's not really what you should be. Yeah, I got you. Shut up. Yeah. I'm trying to do something here.
Right.
That's like leaving the videos up forever, doing something like that. I don't care about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
That's a great thing that people need to be connected to. And if there's some small way that I can plug some people into that to get them connected with you, I'm all for it, man. I think that'd be fucking great.
Let me put it this way. This is how sick my mind is about this. I would rather get 5 new listeners to that podcast and just help them.
Yeah.
Not even have to hear that I helped you. Just help them.
Yeah.
Then get 100 orders from this podcast. That's not what this is about. When I spoke with your brand manager, I was like, hey, we have X, Y, and Z package. And I'm like, well, that's all cool, but, packages are a dime a dozen. I just kind of throw them out because if I don't have, like you just said, that this connection, this rapport, this understanding of what we're trying to do together, then I'll just pay meta ads. I'll figure out the typical path to sales.
Yeah, and see I don't know anything about this. I love Jacob. When he came into our world and he sat there, he sat in that chair you're at, and he's like, look, you got to just trust me. This is what I'm trying to. And that he doesn't take any money from us. He doesn't get a slice of this. He doesn't get a cut of how he's helping. And I keep saying, well, I can give you. He goes, no, just let's get the ball rolling. So for 6 months, he's been like you and I. He's like, how can I help?
Yeah.
Now I said, well, if something big comes along, can we, we got to cut you in. He goes, yeah, but right now the numbers are that's the mentality Jacob's got. He's not doing this.
Good.
He's putting in all these hours, and he's like, he's showing me that he's loyal.
Yeah.
He's showing me, he's like, look, I'll make the phone calls. I'll be on the interviews. I'll do the stuff. We'll get everything together. One day when we cross that line and we land something substantial, I'll raise my hand. And I'm like, I'm trying to cut you in now. And Jacob's like, you're not listening, man. I'm like you. I want to try to make all this work. I have a talent. I have a skill because I've been in the industry for 12 years in social media advertising. I got some angles. And I'll be fair with you about one thing about Jacob, that this type of marketing for him was new. He's used to the big bulk, multi-level media. Hey, at whatever
systemized, corporatized. Yes.
Yeah, and they go, we have 700 social media channels, and they have 40 million viewers across all these channels. We've signed them all up. Let's go to Pepsi and say, how would you like 40 million views? And then they distribute the advertising and the money by how many people you have and all that.
Yeah.
This is new for him, for coming just to one channel, trying to sell one channel as a product. And there's been a learning curve. Him and I have gone through up and down. We've made, like you said, made all the mistakes. We're like, I shouldn't have done that. We should do this. Let's back away from that. He did, because this is a new area for him. But now we're getting it down. It's like, like you said about the packages.
Yeah.
We just talked about the other day. It's like, well, someone came in and wanted to advertise, and I'm dumb. I said, well, how do we talk to people about that? Because, and this is the way Jacob explained it's good and confusing. And I'll try not to bore everybody to death. But let's say someone comes and says, hey, man, I want to be on your podcast. I want to pay, I want Tork Strap to be on your podcast. So here's a couple bucks, be on your podcast. Oh, by the way, Tork Strap, we'd also like to be on your YouTube shorts or your TikTok 1-minute videos. Oh, well, we're a podcast. We don't have shorts.
Really cross
we don't really have that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Or they go to people come out and say, wow, we love your Facebook Reels. You're getting lots of views. We'd like to be advertised on your Facebook Reels. Can we also be part of your live streams? Well, we don't do live streams. We just do these Reels. Jacob comes in and says, you guys have built such a good product. You have a strong podcast. You have strong shorts and reels. You have strong live streams, but you're putting in 12 hours a day to get there. So when you go, I said, so how do you approach someone to say, for advertising or sponsor?
Right.
He goes, that's what we're trying to work out, is like where are we going to put, Tork Strap, and where do you want to mention them? How many different places, and I won't tell you that we know. We sound professional, like, well, here's our list of all the package options for advertising.
XYZ exposure and viewership, and yes.
And guess what? He wrote that the night before he showed it, because we just like, let's try this. We have one that's really fun too. We did it as a kind of a fun thing for us. I don't know if he told you about the gold coins.
He did not.
We started, my wife and I started driving all over the country. We'd paint a quarter gold, and I'd take a stamp on it. I'd stamp number 1. And then we drove out to we were on our way to Vegas, and we stopped on Zizek's Road on the 15, and we drove all the way to the end of Zizek's Road, and there's a little rest area back there, and we hid a gold coin. I hid it behind a handicap sign and the wood post, and we took vague pictures of the area. I came back home and said, hey, I hid a gold coin. I didn't tell him what state it was in.
Yeah.
I didn't tell them where. I just gave clues, and they would email me, and I'd give them a second clue, and they'd email me with the answer. I'd give them a third clue. Then they'd email me, and I'd say, okay, well, you're in the right spot. Now you got to go look. And they drove out there, and they started poking around until they found it. So then we hit another one in Carson City, Nevada. I went to a train museum, and I snuck a gold coin into one of the trains. And we started doing it all over the country. And now I get emails. I got to go through them every day and give them clues. And I thought that would be a good sponsor for somebody. Hey, gold coins, this gold coin sponsored to you by Tork Strap, and you find the gold coin. We're giving away some things if they win.
Sure.
But you can see, and we're giving you away some Tork Strap stuff as part of the package if you win, these guys. And up until now, there's been a few things like that I think Jacob goes, I think we got too many things. Let's not overwhelm people. I said, but at least let them be part of it if they want to. I don't care. They don't got to pay me to go hide the coin.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to give away some stuff at the end of it?
Well, I think it's awesome. I can't comprehend how your brain works, because I'm such a, I'll get in my office and I'm like, how can I get more customers and manipulate without having to talk to anyone? And you're like, how can I engage my audience
how do I
more?
get out there? Right. Get more people in front of me, man.
Email me. Let's talk.
Right. That's what I'm doing. It's I tell Jacob, I go, just let me get in front of somebody and we could work this out. If you're struggling, just let me talk to the guy. I just want to, because I don't have that mentality. I don't have that Shark Tank mentality where I'm trying to dissect everything. It's like, look, man, let's just try something that works. You want to, this guy comes up and he wants to sponsor us, and he's like, well, what are you offering? So I don't know. What do you want to do? Yeah. He's like, well, I want to get out there and reach as many people. So I said, yeah. But if you like Gen X Talks, what part do you like? Well, I like the shorts. I like the podcast. And, I've gone to our website, because everything is on our website. It's updated all the time. Mm-hmm. One guy called up and said, hey, the gold coin thing, that's pretty cool. What would it take to be part of the gold coin thing? And I was like, well, I don't know, give away some stuff when they win. What do you want from, I don't know. You got a good product.
All this out yet.
I was just trying to say, if maybe I'll just add it to the list of, we're giving them $100 Visa card and some Gen X Talks gear. Throw some of yours. Would that be I'll do that. But then Jacob's like, no, dude, we're not, you're really putting a lot of time, and you got to market a little bit better. Yeah. And so I said, well, just work it out. And then that's, nothing's come of it after that. Yeah. They haven't talked about because they want to do more. And so they're working that out. But there's a bunch of little things like that where I'm just excited to work with somebody to do something. And it's getting your name out there, and now there's more people looking, because there's more prizes involved. Right, they want to go. Good, right. That's what I wanted, was more engagement, and you helped me do it. Yeah, by giving some gear for them to win. Now more people want to win. Fine, for me that was it. Yeah. I was okay with that.
Well, here's what I can say. That's all. That's great. Here's what I can say about a brand's perspective when we're trying to get media reach. Right. At least mine anyway. I'm not a data-driven guy, so when I see a sheet that's like, okay, here's the package, X exposure, X dollars, and then we'll see how it goes that month, and then if you want to re-up, we'll re-up. I've done a lot of one-off transactions like that. The issue is, as a business owner, you rarely have solid numbers to go off of to say, that investment doubled my money, right, or tripled, or whatever.
See, I was going to ask you, how do you... As an investment, as you have a product and you do spend money on that, I don't understand any of your side of it at all. I don't know what you're looking for, but
I don't understand it either. Well, I get what you're saying. I mean, here's what you're up against, okay? And I don't mean you, because what you're doing, it's so chill, and I think that there's a lot of ways you could put people on a retainer to where it's no pressure. We don't have to put our fingers on the scale. We don't have to crunch the numbers. We can just say, hey, I'm part of your family now for X amount a month, and whatever happens, happens. I know you're my pal, I know you're my friend, and we're going to integrate as we integrate.
Well, that's what I don't like is the other side of that coin where people say, we want to work with you, but we better see some results. It's like, I don't know if people are going to buy your stuff or not.
You can't guarantee any data. Now, I'll go back to what I was saying. You're up against Google and Meta. And we know Meta is Instagram, Facebook. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I put $300 into Meta a day in ads, I'm going to do $3,000 that day in sales. Now, a lot goes into that. My how good is your product, is the bottom line.
Right.
If you're selling $100 bills for $101, you're not giving any value.
Right.
I digress. So that's what you're up against. I have a guaranteed return on investment every single day with my Meta ads. Google's kind of similar, but Meta is the best. So when somebody comes to me and they say, hey, and I'm not saying your numbers, this is an example. When somebody comes to me and they say, hey, here's a $3,000 package. You're going to get in front of this audience. You're going to be on this show. This show has X downloads a week, all for $3,000. You know how much math I have to do to figure out if that's a better investment than my Meta setup?
I'd never, okay, and I don't do the math either. But just from what you say, I'm thinking my first thought was I settled back in my chair. I went, I can't compete with that.
Yes, you can.
You couldn't give me $300 a day and have me turn into $3,000. I'd love to. I couldn't do that.
Yes, you can.
How? How on earth would I be able to, even if your product is great, which it is, even if you're a nice guy, which you are, even if we have a very loyal following, there's no way we have those kind of numbers. I wouldn't think. I mean, I've never tracked anything. I've never heard back from Jacob on any sales that we've done other than he'll tell me, he goes, hey, that campaign really worked for them. You did good. All right. I have no idea what that meant or means. They're happy with it.
Yeah.
That's all I know. But when you told me those numbers, scared me to death.
Don't be scared, because what good CEOs know is there's immense value in new audiences. Okay. So I can run $300 a day and do what I said, blah, 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 300 turned into 3,000. That's pretty ideal, but eventually there's diminishing returns. Eventually audiences get saturated.
Right.
Eventually I have to now give Facebook 600 a day,
right.
800 a day. And sure, I get a little bit more sales, but it's a diminishing return.
Okay, I could see that because let's say a certain percentage of our audience bought everything from you. That's it. That's all we had. Now we'll gain more audience as Gen X Talks gets bigger. But as far as sales, you got it all. You everybody bought something from you.
But imagine this: Larry heard your podcast. He really liked the idea of Tork Strap. He took the gamble. He spent the $40. He got our Keystone product. He hears you talking about it again in 4 months. He's like, yeah, that's right. That thing works so damn good. I'm going to buy the 8-pack. And then he gets on the website, and because of the hard work I did on the website, he sees if he just buys a 12-pack, he gets 2 free bags, and he's basically getting them for nothing a strap because that's and he's like, yeah, I use these enough to justify this. My average order value just went from, this was a customer we were looking at as a listener.
Yeah.
He turned into a $40 purchase. 4 months later, he turned into a $239 purchase. And this is happening over and over and over again. So what you have to convey to brands is the loyalty and the reoccurrence, the reinforcement that you give your audience with products. And that's where smart people will say, I don't know what the numbers are, but I want Mark's audience.
But see, that I feel like I'm lying. I would feel like I'm potentially misleading you as an
brand.
Because I don't want to come out there and say, I guess it's hard to say you can guarantee or promise anything other than, look, okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say you came to me. Let's say you're sitting down right now and we turn off the microphones and you say, look, I want to be part of your garage show. Okay, and how much money to sponsor? I want Tork Strap to sponsor the garage show every week for the end of the summer. And I'm like, well, we get 13 to 17,000 viewers on each show. They watch the whole time.
In what time span? Live
stream between, and we leave it up. People go view it after, but the initial one in the first few days, there's 17,000 viewers on YouTube. Now I don't know. There's we simulcast, so there's more viewers on Facebook and there's more viewers on Rumble, but I just look at those numbers on YouTube real quick. I would tell you that and go, I have no idea if even one person's going to buy one thing from you. I can't promise you that. All I can tell you is I can tell them honestly how I feel about your product and that it's fucking great. We can show them how it works and show them the other products that don't work. This is what yours does. And I don't mind doing that because it fits the garage show. We're doing it's great.
Yeah.
It's good content for us, but I'd hate to, and these are real numbers.
Yeah.
But I have no idea how that's going to translate to sales. I would never make you a promise. And you could look at me and come back and go, dude, we gave you a couple bucks and we did 3 shows and we sold 4 straps. And I just go, I'm sorry. Maybe they're all broke. Maybe all my viewers don't have any money.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you could also turn around and go, hey, we sold a shit ton. Thank you. But it's that unknown. I could never tell an advertiser or a sponsor or somebody, I could never tell them anything other than I can bring people, I can expose it in a solid way because I really believe it. But after that, I don't know.
Well,
and how on earth would a sponsor or an advertiser have any confidence in me if I don't have any sort of a guarantee or a guideline even?
Well, you're right in the aspect that most of them are going to be looking at the spreadsheets and they're going to say, what's the return? What's the number? What's the guaranteed viewership? Give me a case study? All that could happen. But a real human, when you speak to somebody like me, I'm going to say, okay, Mark, that's cool. You don't have a guarantee. I know if you gave me a guarantee, I would know it's bullcrap. If you gave me a number, I would know it's bullcrap. And it wouldn't be in a disrespectful way. I'd just be like, okay, that's probably kind of a high end of what could happen with an awesome product.
But those are people trying to entice you. Like, well, here's what could happen for you. Here's what you could get. How could anyone say that? How could anybody look at another guy and go, here's the potential. If you go with me, you might get up to this. It's like, or you might get 0. Yeah. Are you adding that into the conversation? Are you telling them that too?
Well, I mean, you're a mechanic. If every customer that came into the door, and they asked for an oil change, and you said, this could increase your gas mileage by 3 miles a gallon. They really look at the numbers and it doesn't, they're not going to come back. Right. But if you say, I'm changing your oil, this is something that's required, this is maintenance, you got to do it, it's the right thing to do, you're going to see them again in 3 months. Now, look what happened. In the first one, you tried to sell. In the second one, you tried to be honest. In the second one, you got a customer for life. In the first one, you lost that customer forever.
Yeah.
So going back to my conversation, I might say, as a human, because I'm not a data guy, I might say, well, look, Mark, we don't know how to value this. Tell me your biggest expense with that show. Tell me your biggest pain point with that show. I mean, sure, you've already bought all the stuff.
Yeah.
But this is taken... between editing, this has probably taken 7 hours of your time, this show. I would venture to value your time as the chief of this company, plus $250 an hour. So let's start there. Like, how can I make this worth Mark? And then the part 2 of that is, Mark, I don't want this to change. I like what you're doing. We're talking for a reason. Don't tell me that next week we got 14,000 live viewers. And the week after that, we had 12. And then we're going to try to do this and that. I don't want to think about this. I want this to be a passive system where we're friends.
Yeah.
You're getting your nut. I'm getting my nut.
See, that's the thing that what some of the advertisers, they came out, like I said, we just recently, within 4 months, we've even entertained the idea about talking to people because we weren't sure what we had. Yeah. We were working really hard at it for three and a half years, trying as hard as we can to get it somewhere. Mm-hmm. So like you said, when we do spend time working on something and someone says, well, now we're coming with an advertisement, your time is money, and how much? I say, I don't know how many hours I'm spending divided by dollars per content, but I don't know. So when someone comes up and says, hey, we'll give you a couple $100 for doing something, it's like, I'm already doing it anyway. Sure. I don't care. Right. That's where Jacob comes in. He goes, but you've built something that's valuable, that could be worth something to both sides. Yeah. And I don't see it. I do not even come close to seeing it. I'm like, I'm already doing it anyway. So, you come at me, it's like, well, someone says, oh, you should be getting $1,000 a podcast. I go, dude, I'm getting $50 a podcast through Spotify. Yeah. Well, how can you tell? Because I'm doing it anyway. We're building it for content. It's fun. And we're building an audience. We engage with people. Mm-hmm. Like you noticed, I like talking to people. Yeah. So I'm doing it. It's like, well, can you get a sponsor for your podcast? I don't know. That wasn't why that's not even on my radar. I don't know. Right. We had a trucking guy, had his own trucking company, and he just sponsored the show for, I think he did, maybe it was $100 an episode. And he wasn't trying to cover costs. He wasn't trying to cover anything. He's just like, dude, just mention my name at the beginning. I'll give you $100 for every episode you guys do. So we did. Huh. we're doing it anyway. So an extra $100, that was $400 a month. Believe me, that was helpful to buy microphones, from our little ones to nicer microphones. We put it right back into what we're doing.
Yeah.
It was good. I didn't mind it at all.
Well, and it's a drop in the bucket for him, and for you, it's 100% necessary, and you guys deserve to take advantage of all those avenues, because at the end of the day, you're helping people, Mark. You're helping people. You helped me get through the hour and 16-minute drive from LA to Bakersfield. That drive sucks without listening to you.
It's tough.
Now, what if I told you, and you know this, I'm just for the audience. What if I told you that you can help even more people by taking in more money? Because now you can justify things you never thought you could have justified. Childcare, for example.
Yeah.
I spend so much of my week having to break away to pick up a sick kid or to feed, or the one's crying, grandma needs to take a shower. I can create so much more value by hiring a nanny. Not that I can afford a nanny by any means, but this is my dream right now. I could create so much more value for my customers by hiring a nanny for $21 an hour. I can help more people not get injured by a strap. So you always have to look at it that way. I'm going on a tangent, but to go back to, your value proposition, what do I recommend?
Right.
You say, here's what I know. Here's our total followers. Here's our total subscribers. Here's what an average video gets on TikTok. I want to put you on the Garage Band show, or the Garage
Show, yeah.
The Garage Show. And I just want 500 a month consistently, and we're going to work you in as we would work in a friend. You talk a lot about the woman who helped Mary with her back or her
Marcy
joint pain.
Zavala. Yeah.
Yes, Marcy.
Oh God, yes.
Okay, so look at the relationship you have with her. She's getting advertising that you couldn't pay for, you couldn't put a price on, but she did the right thing, and
and it's real. It's like
real.
I saw it happen. I noticed the change in my wife. I'm like, there's no way anybody can tell me that Marcy Zavala hasn't changed my wife's life, and consequently mine and our kids, because those pains are gone, and they've been there for 10 years since cancer, and now they're gone. It is almost it's not even measurable. So why would I not for free say her name to get other people to go there forever, for the rest of my life? I would say that stuff.
Right.
You couldn't stop me.
And there's of anything you've ever mentioned, that's the one I remember the most. Now, if I can create a genuine bond with a media company like yourself for $500, $1,500, $15,000, whatever the relevant number is that makes sense for everybody, it doesn't matter. Just send me the invoice on the 30th every month, and let's keep this shit going. I do the same thing with I can't hire a full-time engineer. I pay my engineer about $1,000 a month to be on retainer. He attends meetings with us, and anytime I need his ear, I have it, and he's up to speed with what Tork Strap is doing.
Sure.
He doesn't work full time. He's not burning the midnight oil.
Right.
He works 12 hours a month, but I've got him.
He's there.
He's a pal.
He's there.
You know? So I think those, and I'm very unique, but I can only speak to how I handle these deals.
Well, okay, so then I think something popped in my head. I was thinking of Jacob again, and I can't tell you how much I love the guy and how much he's like family. Like, let's just do this and see. Let me put in the time. Let's see where it goes. You never could ask for a more selfless guy.
Love that.
To do that, and so. Someone would say, let's say you came in Tork Straps and said, hey, we want to sponsor the Garage Show for the rest of summer. All right. And like Dan Patrick goes out there, and you listen to the Dan Patrick Show for sports, or everybody sees his stuff. And he, in the middle of his thing, he goes, oh, and so, Tork Strap is sponsoring today's program. Make sure you get a Tork Strap. It's online. They're on Amazon, and you never use another bungee cord again. And he reads the script, and then he moves on.
Yeah.
It's like, I go, and Jacob will correct me on this. He's like, well, dude, you can't talk about Tork Strap every Garage Show.
No, and
you couldn't do that. I said, yeah, I know, but he goes, so you're going to have to, if those situations come around, whatever somebody's doing, you're going to have to just read the copy and put it in there. That's all they expect. And I go, well, then we're ripping them off, man, because there's got to be something more creative, something a little more clever that you can say. Like with Marcy. Do you think every podcast I can get out there and go, marcyzavala.com, you're one click away from being pain-free every week? No. I get out there and say, you know what? I noticed something, and this is true. We're in the podcast, and I'll say, you know what? I said, you you're hurting this week. That joint pain has come back. And I say, and she goes, my wife will sit right in that chair and go, I wasn't following Marcy's diet.
I slipped.
I slipped. Yeah, that's what she says. She goes, I slipped. She goes, I was eating the bread I shouldn't, or I drank that. She knows. And she goes, I said, well, then people see you. I don't want you blaming Marcy. Marcy did her job. You're just not following the plan. She goes, I do. That's my fault. It's not hers. When I follow it, I'm where I'm supposed to be. Now, I was able to say something positive about Marcy again because I believe in her.
Yeah.
And I was able to show that if you do what you're supposed to do, it works.
Yeah.
And I wasn't just reading copy.
Yeah.
I took a real life experience and when you do something with Tork Strap, there's so many things you can talk about with people's like, hey, you talk with Briggs on a show and say, did you see that guy go down the freeway with his shit hanging out? Yeah. And say, that was so funny because, Briggs looks at that and he goes, dude didn't have Tork Strap, did he?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. His stuff was dangling off the sides and his load was shaking as it goes.
Right.
Then I feel like you're giving somebody a story, something they can remember other than reading just copy every week.
Yeah.
Then I feel like you're trying and you're not giving the minimum effort. You're really building a story it's the same 45, 60 seconds.
Right.
But you're not reading copy. You're telling them something they can remember.
They both work. You never forget. You ever watch a talk show like a Jimmy Fallon or whatever? How many times does a celebrity come on, they tell the same exact airplane, lost my luggage, got pulled over, was late to the wedding, wore the wrong outfit? Every time, rinse and repeat. So don't ever underestimate people's need to hear the same crap over and over again. So that's good. Take advantage of that because you can get money from people for reading a 30-second script. That's okay. Some listeners will resonate with it. The underwear I'm buying, MeUndies, the radio show I was listening to down in LA, they kept just doing that promo. For some reason, I bought it. And I'm not usually that type of a sucker, but it got me. However, I don't remember that advertisement. I remember everything you said about Marcy today, right? So that's the big difference. So take advantage of the companies who are willing to pay for those spots. That is easy money. And it's fair, you deserve it, and they will get good exposure. But also take advantage of companies who want to build relationships, and it's just like, hey, Grant, you're in LA. Sometimes I need fillers. We're pals. We're on the retainer. Come up here. We're not talking about Tork Strap, but I need another I Know a Guy episode.
Right.
Somebody dropped, and just be here. And all of a sudden, before you know it, I'm in your brain. We're friends. We're working together. Things are coming up.
Yeah.
Organically. Sure, I'm paying a little retainer, but that's because we're doing business. Like, you're making money. I'm making money. Everybody wins. I think it's really cool.
If we had something like that, I would tell you just come up whenever you want too. Let's just talk about whatever you want. I don't care. Let's put it on, get in the middle of stuff. You want to talk about anything, who cares? Let's put it out there. I think it'd be great to do something like that. Here's okay. And I hate to say this, but I'm really trying to pick your brain from your side of the fence because I don't understand any of it.
Yeah.
But when Jacob comes to me and says they're going to give you a promo code, so here's the link, here's the promo code, and you read your copy and it's like, hey, everybody go to the torkstrap.com and use the promo code Gen X Talks, you get 10% off and do your thing. And then Jacob will tell me that's how they calculate how many people. I said, well, that's not really fair because what if a bunch of people don't use the promo code? What if they're later on like, I'm going to buy some of those, and they're not anywhere around our website. They don't know the promo code. They didn't stick in their head. They just knew torkstrap.com or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They went there, they bought some stuff. They didn't use the promo code. That's not trackable. That's not fair because maybe there was more people that I just don't understand how all of these metrics work and people can call them accurate. They don't seem fair to me. And that, I beat myself up, as on my side delivering, but I also stand up for myself a little bit going, I don't think how anybody's counting this is really fair because there's no way to know. There's just some stuff you're not going to know.
Well, look, you just said it. The fact, and the fact is there's no true data. There's no true numbers. Attribution is a thorn in the side of anyone running a company or marketing, anything. They can't really attribute 100%.
Right.
And every time there's a new iOS update or anything that you hear about privacy, we're always having to agree to these disclaimers,
Sure.
which could be us agreeing to wear pink polka dotted dresses for all we know. But all those really play into protecting people's privacy and data. So yes, the only way they can really attribute that sale, is if they use that promo code that you gave them. But like you said, I don't really use promo codes because it's a pain, punch it in. Like, what am I trying to do? Save $6? I don't care. If I want something, I'm going to buy it.
Right. And what if you don't remember the promo code when you finally go back there?
You don't.
Unless it pops up on my screen where I can click it, I don't always put it in.
I'm not going to go into Spotify, look at the show notes, try to find the promo code. I'm just,
Right.
I liked it. I'm going to buy it. So you're right. There's only like 50% legit attribution. Just use that. Be confident with it. Don't be frustrated by it. Just say, I could come to you, say I'm a really ignorant brand, Tork Strap, and I'm just like, Mark, I love what you're doing. I'm obsessed with the show. I got to give you money. I got to get on your show. How much sales am I going to get? You just say, just look at this, Graham. I can't guarantee you anything. What I can tell you is we know for a fact, and we know for a fact that every week we have 16,000 dedicated listeners, 100,000, whatever it is, and we get this much engagement. I know how much my costs are, and I know what we're trying to build. Therefore, this is my number.
Right.
And you start a little low, and if it's good, if there's a return, then naturally you're going to have a really good relationship, and you're going to be able to charge more. When you get so inundated, then you know when to charge more.
There's a lot of that comes down to just how you feel.
Yeah.
Somebody calls you, Jacob calls you up after a month and goes, all right, you can go over the numbers if you want to. But at the end of the conversation, it's like, Grant, how do you feel? Did this work for you? Did it feel like it? That's how I would approach it. I'd call you up and go, I don't care about the numbers. I just know, did this work for you?
Right.
How do you feel about how that whole thing went? That's really what it comes down to.
And how
you're going to spend your money next time. You say, dude, it didn't work out. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine. If it didn't work out, I still want to be your friend.
Right.
This didn't work. All right. Gotcha. But there's so much of this world that is cut and dry and numerical, and I'm like, I am so removed from that.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that Jacob knows that stuff and he can speak their language, but it's like I tell him, when he's talking with somebody and they're like, well, we're just not sure we're going to say, well, there was one guy, I won't mention his name, did an interview recently with him, and his company was like, he was older than me. So I let you know that everybody older than me is an old man. Everybody younger than me is a kid. And it's just how it goes. So this guy was an old guy. And he was talking with Jacob, and he's like, well, I don't know. The numbers, the crunch of the numbers, and my data guy is telling me this, and my social media guy, he's not sure, and doing this. And Jacob tells me the conversation. I said, well, can I talk to the guy? Can we do an interview? I started doing interviews for free. I said, just do them. Let me just talk to me. Let me make a friend. And we sat with the guy, and we did an interview. And he called Jacob as soon as it was over. He called him before I did. I was calling Jacob, tell him the interview's over. It went well, I thought. Yeah. And I couldn't even get through to him because the other guy had called the second we got done. And now he wants to set up some sort of to help to work with us, doing something with some money, some sponsors, some doing things, just based on talking. And I said, well, good, because I spent the whole time telling the guy, I like what you're doing. I like your company.
Yeah.
If you want to do something, let's do it as, on a friendship level. I know there's got to be a contract, but can you tell me what you're looking for and let me try to go do it?
Yeah.
Just tell me what you're looking for and let me go out of my way to try to fit it into the character inside Gen X Talks. Mm-hmm. And he said, what do you really just tell me what you'd like to see? And if you want me to talk about it on a garage show, you want me to talk about it on a podcast, if you'd like to see it during a live stream demonstration, or you'd like to do something in short, you just tell me what you're looking for, man.
Yeah.
Let me go see if I can make something worth your while. And I'll tell you, the other thing we did a couple times is Jacob was telling me, there's a couple people on the fence. And God, who was it? The first one. I went ahead and made the video. We made the short. Uh-huh. Funny as shit. It was hilarious. Yeah. I didn't post it. I had a link, and I told Jacob, this is what I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
And so I gave it to him. He goes, that's great. Oh, I know who it was. It was Bad Dog Tools.
Yeah.
And he had been working with Bad Dog Tools. They do drills and cutting stuff. They're fucking amazing little products. They only do a few products.
Nice.
And he contacted him. He goes, "Oh, we missed with them." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I talked to their people, and they've already settled their advertising for the quarter.
Of course.
They've already picked, what they're going to spend and where they're going to go."
That was the excuse I gave Jacob too.
So that's a common terminology in the industry.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
It means I don't know the numbers and I'm total bullshit.
So Jacob says, "So we missed it. We'll try again next quarter." And I went, "All right." The next day, I filmed a short with Briggs. And it was funny as shit. I'm like, it's like, "You fucked this whole thing up, and look at how bullshit this is." I go, what'd you use? He goes, "I use a tool." Did you use my top drawer tools? He goes, "You won't let me in there."
Yeah, he cracked the Taiwanese.
Yeah, and I was like, you got to use the right shit for the job. And he's like, you want a top shelf tool? Then you get it out of my top drawer, and then he goes, "And then the job will come out right." I go, "It's not going to fucking do the job for you."
You're an idiot, proof.
That's right. It's not an idiot. You're still going to fuck it up, but at least it'll look good when you're done. It's clean.
Yeah.
And we didn't publish that at first, and I just sent it to Jacob. He sent it to them, and within 2 days they called back and said, "We're going to make room for you." And this is funny. It was just something. And I go, "Just tell me what you guys are interested in. Let me try to earn your business, I'll go first." I said, these guys are all, "Well, if we give you the money, you better produce some stuff." It's like, well,
say this word 6 times.
right? It's like, well, don't give me any money. Let me go first. Let me figure some stuff out and show it to you. See what you think. And, at first Jacob was like, "Well, you don't really want to put in the effort." I go, "Jacob, I don't mind. I'll try it."
Yeah.
So we've done that with a few things, and we've gone first with some interviews and done some stuff. I said, "I don't care if it doesn't work out. Let me go first and let me talk to people.
Yeah.
And then if they not only like Gen X Talks, but if they like talking to me, then maybe we can do some stuff later." Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem so clinical anymore after you talk to people.
That's a great way to put it. And that's 100% why I was happy to come up here, because I told Jacob the exact same. You and I are thinking the exact same things, just on opposite perspectives.
Right.
He said, "Well, it's not the right time. You guys have already spent your budget for the quarter, but we could still do an interview." I'm like, 100%, I'll do that. And I don't give a rat's ass if we say Tork Strap one single time. That's not what this is about.
No.
This is about a relationship in which we're comfortable, we can grow together, and we don't have to think about it all the time. I don't have to think, "God, I got to put out 3 Tork Strap shorts before the end of the month."
Right.
No. And I don't want to think, "God, I got to check and make sure they put out exactly 3 Tork Strap shorts, or otherwise they're screwing my ass."
I know. God, the pressure on those things is like
bad.
Well, and that's one of the things too is Jacob. That's funny you should say about counting, because he tried to we're still figuring it out, but he had these packages like, "Well, we'll mention you during 4 podcasts, and we'll mention you during 10 live streams," I think it was. And then Jacob says, "So, the guy wants to sign a contract, give you a couple bucks and do the stuff, and make sure you do it." I already did it. I'm already doing this. "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm already 2 podcasts in. I did it because I like their product. Whether they jumped on board or not, I already talked about it."
Right.
And they're like, "What?" I go, "I already did. We're talking about it." So there's stuff that he goes, "Well, they haven't quite signed the contract. They're going." I said, "I don't care." I said, "If it comes to fruition, then I've already got some under my belt. If it doesn't, they were cool cats, and that was cool stuff. And who cares? I've already 2 podcasts in, and I mentioned 4 live streams. If they sign a contract and want us to do something and help us out with a few bucks, I'm already halfway there. Mm-hmm. I'm already doing it." And Jacob's mouth kind of drops open. He's like, and I know in his mind, he's like, "You're giving stuff away." And in my mind, I'm like, "Look, man, I just pointed people towards a good product. They're going to like me for saying that. They're going to come back to me and go, 'Dude, that was pretty cool of you. Thanks for mentioning that. I went out and bought one. It's really working well.'"
Yeah.
And you know what? I do get emails like that. I got a picture and an email from a grill floss thing this guy gave us. His sales didn't turn out real strong, but he gave us a bunch of these. It's a tool that has a little end on it for.
I remember, nice little hook on it to get under that ring.
Exactly,
that rung.
and it came with like 3 different shapes that you could bolt on there.
Yeah,
and you could clean it. And for the initial knocking the big stuff off, God, it worked great. And we gave them away during trivia. Just gave them to people. Just give us your address. We'll pay for the shipping. He gave us the stuff. Just go do it. I got emails from guys going, "Dude, this fucking thing works great.
It rocks."
And they're telling other people. I don't know how far that's going to go. And my live stream will stay up there forever talking about it. So will the shorts. So I'm sure over the long run, this guy spending a couple guts going to get, 100-fold back over years. Mm-hmm. But who's going to count that? Who's going to measure it? And guess what? Who cares?
Yeah.
It was a good product that I sent people towards. And as far as I'm concerned, even if the business part is done, I don't care. The dude was a cool guy. He has a cool product, and now everybody knows. I'm moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling the content off because the contract's over.
Yeah.
If it's a good product and you're telling people, why not keep telling them? Who gives a shit?
Right.
What's the fucking point if you're not going to help people out?
100%, man. Well, I want to go back and I want to say Jacob knows the formula and Jacob is very smart. You swing the hammer and you swing it better than anybody. Jacob can never give you a formula to swing that hammer that would come out to a tangible result.
Well, I appreciate that.
So there's no blueprint to this. You're doing something unique. If this was called the Today or the View and you had 6 talking ladies, then you would just have a failed show because you tried to recommend. This is unique. So what I'm getting at is you have to have people like Jacob give you the formulas.
Absolutely.
I have guys like that on my team. But you also have to understand that magic happens. The guy swinging the hammer, flinging the wand, whatever you want to call it, he's the one making the magic happen. You have to blend the formulaic side, the corporate side, with the magic side and let things bloom.
Well, I'll tell you, I really feel second place to Jacob, and maybe I'm not saying that right, but
I get it.
I know that where he's at with trying to figure this out and promote us, he's on the business and the numbers, and he gets the math, he gets the formula.
Yeah.
And even though I have no idea, and I want to rip his formula apart and go, just fucking go.
Yeah.
He's like, no. He's taking my creativity and trying to bottle it.
Yeah.
And I'm just throwing it out there, and he's trying to contain it. I'm trying to dismantle his side. He's trying to get mine together.
Yeah.
But I feel second place to him because I know that he knows more about this by yards than I'm ever going to.
Yeah.
And I trust him. He's earned that loyalty and that trust. I wouldn't trade him for anything because he jumps on board like our staff of moderators. They give tireless hours for free. Oh, we give them perks and do stuff for them, but they do it not on a payroll. They do it because they want to be part and promote Gen X Talks.
Yeah.
And he came in the exact same way. He goes, I just want to be part of something. And yes, I do want to make money at this, but it's going to take a little time. And he has been true to his word on everything so far. It's just absolutely stunning the things he's been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
I would have never got some of these interviews. We did Chris Cuomo show.
Yeah, I remember hearing. How'd that go?
It went great.
That's awesome.
You know, he's completely left. I'm completely right. And he didn't care. He's like, we're just two guys talking about comedy. We're talking about generational stuff. None of that mattered at all.
Yeah.
And he's like just having two guys having a beer talking about topics. And he was just talking about how fun it was and the generational tension. He's got kids, I've got kids. And it wasn't more than 5 or 8 minutes. But it was solid. And how did we get that? Because he went up to his producers and said, go find these guys, get them on my show. His producers began to look us up. And both producers said the number one thing that convinced them was a news article, an interview that was done about us in the Bakersfield Californian. And the only reason we got that was because Jacob set it up like day one he got here. He goes, I'm putting you in this newspaper. I'm getting the guy over here. He's going to do the interview. And we did it. And he printed it in the newspaper. We're on the front page, did his thing, didn't think much of it. But all these things that Jacob puts together now are paying off in ways that we never would have thought.
Holy crap.
That's, if I want to paint a picture of Jacob, that's Jacob.
That's awesome.
Just great guy. I'm indebted to him right now, and I really hope that some way things move around where he can just take a cut of what he's been earning.
Yeah.
He's already earned it. I already owe it to him. I just got to wait for him to tell me how to get it to him.
Yeah, you want to monetize it for him.
He's that valuable to what we're doing.
Well, if I could make one suggestion to the process of finding brands you want to work with.
Yeah.
When Jacob approached me, it was a cold email. That's cool. That's pretty typical. That's really the top of the funnel. The next step was a phone call in which I was expecting a video call that I didn't get. So I didn't make any eye connection, right?
Yeah.
And number 2 was I really would love to hear what you're saying, right? Everything we've talked about in about the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you and him in that call. It can be quick. I know your time is valuable, but imagine how much time you spent going back and forth. The company's in, they're out.
Oh, yeah, right.
15 minutes where Mark just says, listen, Grant, this is what we're good at. This is what we love doing. And this is how we do it. And this is why we're loved. And then I get to say, well, this is how we do. This was everything I just said from my point of view.
Sure.
Boy, I'll remember that. I'll be chewing on that for days and days, weeks and weeks. By contrast, what I got was, well, here, I can send you a package, and if the numbers fit, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers. I don't know the return.
Yeah.
We don't know. But I know I like Mark, and I know that he's cool, and I know that if he gets what I'm trying if he smells what I'm stepping in, we're going to cook some stuff up, and I know magic happens.
Well, maybe that's like the last piece to the puzzle for Jacob, for a guy like you to say, look, man, I get that the world is full of cold calls, but it would be better if like the very next conversation after the email, once you got one shot with me, a phone call, a video call, something, it would be, I'm telling you from a sponsor side, from an ad guy, the product side,
The media guy.
just telling you, if you email me and I agree to meet with you, then maybe it does need to be Mark and you guys can talk about packages later. Let's just talk. I'm talking about that. Let's talk about what we do and how much fun it is to do it.
Yeah.
Then after I hang up, and the next day you guys can talk about how you put things together, because I'm not part of that I wouldn't understand it anyway.
Yeah, and Jacob could have just called me 2 days later and just say, "How was that talk for you? How did that go for you?" Leave it in my hands. It was really good. It's really got me thinking we could do a really funny video. Jacob say, video, huh? Well, that's interesting because we can start there. That's a great idea. That's a good video idea. We could start there. And before we know it, we're in a relationship.
Yeah.
We're all in a relationship.
You know what's funny is when we're done here, I'm not saying we should do this. Mm-hmm. We probably, in fact, I'm going to say we shouldn't do this, but it'd be funny to get out the phone and I call and leave Jacob mentions that guy, fuck Grant, I'm never doing it. Fuck Tork Strap, and it was the worst interview ever. And then you call and go, I hate Mark, he's a dumbass. I mean, he would just be crushed. We can't do that.
I drove to Bakersfield for this.
That'd be if we could pull that out, that'd be good. But I think Jacob would just kill me at that point.
That would be the threshold.
I'll tell you one thing that I want to do, and this is off topic, but we were down at VidCon, and VidCon's like Comic-Con. They've been doing it for 12 or 13 years, and we didn't go down as a spot. They won't allow us to ever speak to anybody because we're too conservative, too common sense. They just like, if you're going to show up, you're here as a fan. All right.
Yeah.
But we went to all the seminars. We talked to all the industry people. Just so happened my wife and I were having breakfast. Crowded area inside the Hilton. And you overhear conversations and you start talking to them. They start talking to you. And it's this one lady sitting next to us. I might get her title wrong, but I think she was the absolute head of social media marketing for Dove soap.
Nice.
And we just talked about stuff and why we were there. She looked up our channel. She was laughing along. And then that was kind of where we left it. But we did give her an email address. 40 minutes later, she wrote me an email. Very nice to meet you. Nice to stay in touch. There's nothing to talk about. She had no reason to email me.
Sure.
But she did. So I was thinking, I told my wife, I go, we got to do a short video. We got to do an ambush video about Dove soap. And she goes, how are you going to work Dove soap? I go, there isn't anything that I can't work in there.
That's how I feel.
So I wrote this deal in my head, and I jotted some notes down. I said, Briggs got to come in and go, why is mom so pissed at me? So what'd you do? You pissed her? No, she's mad. So well, then have him go, because I used the wrong soap. Say,
yeah,
you didn't use her Dove soap, did you? Yeah, so that's not for you. That's for her. Okay, you get the cheap stuff from the dollar store.
Yeah,
the Dove soap is hers. Don't touch it. Don't use it. Don't use it up. She's not going to run out. She stocks up. She sees you using her stuff. There's very few things mom's critical about. But her makeup, her soap, those things are just hers that she knows she likes for 35 years. Don't fucking touch it.
Yeah.
And you touched it? He goes, I don't know. Maybe I used it, or I used Irish Spring. I don't know what I used. Well, she'd only be pissed if you touched her Dove soap.
Yeah.
You used it. You fucked up. I'm not going to help you. I'm not getting in the way. If she's on the warpath on that, you stepped on your dick on that one. You're on your own.
And then here, you end it with a banger. Just a suggestion. All right, well, I'll just keep using the Irish Springs. No, that one's for my ass crack. Boom, end it.
But do you see how if I could think of something, and send it to her on the side and go, if you ever got to a point to lower yourself to Gen X Talks level, I know you want to do Super Bowl ads and say it, but if you ever drop down here, this is the realm we play in with this. And if it was funny enough, and I did take time to edit it correctly, make it look clean,
right?
The whole thing with the background music and the words and everything, just clean it up. And you never know what might happen. And maybe even if she couldn't use it for Dove, they said, nah, we can't go there from here. But maybe she knows somebody in some other company, a shampoo or something. You never know.
Yeah.
You don't know what can come of it.
No, you don't.
And that's going back to that. There's a difference between Jacob and I. He would email her and say, well, I heard you met Mark and Mary at the VidCon and had breakfast and they had a wonderful, and I'm Jacob and I'm the brand manager. I'm fucking sending a video going, hey, if you ever lower yourself to you're come slumming on our side of the track, this is the shit we do.
Right.
There's a difference between how we would and neither one of us have done anything. Neither one of us have emailed her, but that would be my approach.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, thanks for taking time with it. This popped in my head. We did this for you. If you ever think about something, and it is different from how Jacob cold calls.
Right. And looms too. Have you heard of Loom?
No.
It's just you, a salesperson sending a video instead of a cold call. They send an email. They say, hey, I just saw a couple discrepancies on your website, like for me as a e-commerce guy.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to run through this real quick with you, how maybe you could increase your conversion rate. Whether you take us or not, take these tips. And it's a guy speaking on his computer, like going through my website, be like, if you just raise this up to the top so people don't have to scroll and see, I would definitely do that. Blah,
that sounds great. That'd be a great thing to do.
It's so sick. So you have Jacob going through the Dove social media. And you say, this is awesome. You're hitting the very basic soccer mom audience, but where's the guy stuff? Or where's the whatever class of person, where is it, and that's where we want to work this in. Here's an example, play another screen or another recording. Here's an example of what we did with Dove in the past and how it works. Anyway, and then leave some value at the end. Regardless, I do want to say you're doing great. If you brought all your videos down from a minute to 30 seconds, I think you'd see a much higher view duration, whatever that nugget is.
Right.
That's how I hired my Amazon guy, and now I pay him $4,200 a month. He lives in Spain because he got me. He said, Grant, this is what you can do right now for free. This is yours. This is what I want to do. You don't have to, but this is what I want to do. And this is how brands get to millions of dollars. Yeah. I was like, holy crap. It works.
The one thing that I've noticed is that I didn't want to believe, because I'm old and you don't ever want to, technology and stuff, get off my lawn and things. But there are people, there's real formulas and there's real things that work and don't work. And it's so complex. You can't just say, here is, like with your Amazon, here's how the thing works for Amazon. Really? Does that work for every single product everywhere? No.
Nope.
It may work for a chunk and a sector or something, but there are guys that are so smart that like, yeah, but I'd tweak it this way for you. And they're right. They know those things. They know websites. Yeah. I don't know our website. I just put stuff up there. If someone knew something about ours and came along, my first instinct would be, it's fine. It's a website. It's just a website. It works. That's my first reaction. But I know better now.
Yeah.
I know there's people out there that are smarter about what they're doing. They're smarter than me. But which one do you listen to? Uh-huh. That's where I get lost. But I know this. I know that the team that we have on staff, our moderators, are the best guys and they're solid. I know what they're doing and how they're helping us, and they're almost flawless in their approach. And I know that Jacob is absolutely the right guy. And when he decides to pull the trigger on something, I know it's in the right direction. Yeah. And I need to pull back and not be so like, God, the word is, it's ambitious, but it's not. It's like, I don't want to be out there going, don't worry about it. We'll just take care of everything. And Jacob's like, calm down. Let's get this in order. Cause we're very yin and yang on how we do this, but he's the right guy.
Yeah.
I know that my wife is the right girl, not just because we're married. She really plugs in with what she does in Gen X Talks and does it flawlessly.
Yeah.
We have a good team and a good formula. I just don't know where to go with it. I know that we're like a blue chip stock. We just grow steadily and slowly, and our numbers go up.
Yes.
And we put out a lot of content. We put out some retro videos, and we sprinkle in new stuff. Great. In all of our live streams, of course, and our podcast, they're fresh and brand new every month. And we do all the filler in between. My wife spends hours each day finding nostalgia pictures to go on Facebook, because that's what Facebook pages are.
Yeah.
It's our videos and live streams, but it's filled in with all these nostalgia things. Do you remember this? Look back at that. What do you think here? Hours filling in the gaps to make it one big full product. But where do you go from here? Is this what I do now? Is this me for the next until I don't want to do it anymore? Is this what I'm doing? Is 8 hours a day just grinding it through? I don't mind. I'm not resenting it.
Yeah.
But when Jacob comes along and says, this might have some value to some people to monetize, he's not wrong. I just don't know how to get there at all. Not even close.
Well, look, I don't know. I can't say, but from what I'm seeing and what I'm picking up is merge the best of the both of you, right? I told you earlier, you're the guy swinging the hammer. He's the guy with the formula. He's right. He's looking at the bottom line. He's looking at how can you give more value by scaling more and being able to afford more and having freedom of time. He's 100% right. But in any business, the CEO, whatever you want to call him, president,
making something profitable is not just money.
profit never comes.
Yeah.
We just try to make enough money to do what we do.
The single thing that's in front of my mind, even not talking about your product, Tork Strap, but you said about the phone call that you had from Jacob, after the email.
Yeah.
I think an approach for me, and I'm not trying to dumb him down, but I'm trying to say, I think we really caught something here. Thank God this guy came up and you got Grant in here. Because listen to this. If you get people, I think maybe the first thing you should do is get me on the phone with them in a Zoom call, all three of us. And I think you should tell them, listen, thanks for answering the email. I'll tell you what, let's let you meet Mark.
Yeah.
Let's talk for a few minutes in a Zoom call. And if you like things after that, then we'll talk some packages, numbers, and see. But let's see if you like what we got to say first.
Yeah.
Then go right into what he did after that. But just that one step first might make a difference.
Well, look, I'll just share this. I was scared of you the way you were introduced to me. I don't mean I was trembling in my boots, but I mean, picture this.
Okay, I got to hear this. Go ahead.
I get an email, we're thinking about, you might be a good fit for Gen X, and we have some packages. We'd love to talk to you about it. And Mark might be able to do this, might be able to do that. So right away, Mark is the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the sheet, whatever that was.
Yeah, the curtain, right?
Yeah. So that's Mark in my mind. So then I get on social media, which I had been following you guys anyway.
Right.
But I hadn't really paid attention hardcore, like, who is Mark?
Sure.
And the first thing I see is, get the fuck out of my face with this generational bullshit. And I know you love your son. That's apparent in the videos.
Yeah.
But these are all the parameters I have to go off with Mark right now. And then then like the third conversation, it almost became apparent, like, we're not going to waste Mark's time. And I'm thinking, okay, Mark's either a dick or he's really, really busy.
So you're going to walk in, I'm going to go, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah, sit over there.
Sit down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I kind of did that to you.
Well,
I didn't mean to. I was like, you're over here. I was just trying to guide you to where you went.
You said you're over here. It's like when you say, please hand me the pickles. You don't say, hand me the pickles. So it was fine. I'm a big boy. And like I said, I'm expecting to come into this thing, put on the boxing glove.
Right.
No, I didn't. I had listened to enough of the podcast by that time. But we're talking about the top of the funnel.
Right.
At the top of the funnel, I was scared. He refined me. He got me in the middle of the funnel by saying, well, we'd still be interested in doing the podcast. Because, okay, so this isn't such a numbers game. This isn't such a, I'm not under a microscope.
Yeah, no.
And once I learned that, and then that encouraged me to really listen to the show. And then I felt really at home with you and Mary. And then I couldn't wait to come on the show. But when he first said it, not going to lie, dude, I almost backed out like 6 times mentally over the last week.
I could see that. I do. I just, it's one of the things again, Jacob's slowing me down is I'm like, look, can you just tell me what let me get in front of somebody. Let me do a video for him. Let me work something out. I don't mind. Let me try. I'll put out the first olive branch. Let me try to do something. But bring him in the studio. We'll do an interview. It's good content for us. It goes in our column of things that we really enjoy doing. I don't mind. And maybe we could answer some questions. So
yeah,
I'm constantly trying to go that way. I don't, and I get where Jacob's at completely.
He's right in his respect. I want to give him that off the top. He's very right. But please.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that how it can come across or what you can do because of what you see on the surface with me might be a little off-putting, and then it's going to be his job to bridge that quickly. And maybe, like your suggestion was, after the first email, it's like, well, let's all do it together, because if Jacob called and said, hey, we're going to meet with Grant on a Zoom call, it would have been very much like this. It wouldn't have been me sitting there with my arms folded going, okay, what are we doing? What are we talking about?
Right.
What are you interested? I'd have been like, dude, glad to meet you. And that it would have been very much like this.
Yes.
I don't know. This is no longer a you interview. It's a me interview. I picked your brain for the past 40 minutes.
Well,
How much do I owe you?
let me pick your brain for a minute.
Sure.
You speak very quick-witted. Have you always been this way?
Yeah. I was always
zingers, got one in the pipe, got one in the chamber.
Ready. It was always when I was growing up as a kid. It was always the class clown in school. I got voted class clown. It was always my thing to be on radio. I always wanted to be on the radio. In fact, I used to call in to KIQQ in the San Fernando Valley, LA from the San Fernando Valley. I think I didn't know about long distance phone calls back then, and my parents got the bill and they about shit a purple Twinkie. But I'll tell you what, when I did those things, all my friends heard me. Yeah. I called in. I became a regular call-in at a radio station on a morning show, and all of my friends, the entire school system knew that I was calling in and knew who it was. And then these DJs would go to events out in the valley where they'd have a booth for their thing. Hey, the KIQQ DJs are all going to be there. So I demanded my parents take me out there because I hadn't met him in person. So I meet all these guys in person. Like, I used to go by the name Napoleon. Don't ask me why. I'm not going to. It's a long story. But they're like, you're Napoleon? I go, yeah. They're like, dude, you call in every week or every few days.
I know.
They pull me behind the booth. This is a true story. Big, huge, it's LA County Fair. There's 10,000 people. And they said, yeah, we're going to sign some autographs. You need to come in, get behind the booth with us. So I did. And my mom comes up to find me like 2 hours later, and she's standing there off to the side, and there is a line of people in front of me waiting for my autograph. And the DJs are sitting on each side of me. And she's like, what are you doing? I go, I'm signing autographs. She goes, it's time to go. I go, Mom, stop.
Did you not hear what
I'm in junior high. It's just, there to this day, this is something I make up in my mind. To this day, there are girls my age, women, who in their hope chest of things they've collected their whole life is an autograph from me somewhere on a sticker or a picture or something that they still have that they got from the LA County Fair in 1982 or 83 that is still there. But that was always my thing back then, was to be on radio with the quick one-liners the zingers do. And in high school, I was on stage crew in junior high and high school. For drama. We do the lighting, we do the sets, we do the microphones, we do all this stuff. And the only time I ever wanted to participate was when the drama club was doing improv. And I would tell the same teacher, for drama and stage crew, I said, let me do the improv. I'm like, you're a lighting guy. I go, let me do fucking improv. What do you care?
Yeah.
So the teacher's like, go ahead. And that was probably the single best compliment I ever got. His name was Mr. Mikowski at Madison Junior High, and it was 9th grade. And in this drama class was Shawnee Smith, who's a very famous actress and been in lots of stuff. And who else was in there? Now I'm drawing blanks. Josh Koenig was in that class. He's Walter Koenig's son. Walter Koenig was on Star Trek. He was Chekhov on the original Star Trek with William Shatner. It was his son. Danny Nucci, who has been in Crimson Tide. He was in The Rock. He was in that class. I mean, there was some kids who became
star-studded classroom.
And there I am, and I'm working with these guys, and we're doing stuff, and we're all friends.
Yeah.
And we get done with these, like we did it for like 3 or 4 days, and my teacher goes, "Why are you in stage crew?" He goes, this is ridiculous, man. And he goes, do you sit in our drama classes? I go, no, I'm just fucking around.
Yeah.
But it was an aptitude that I was naturally, I needed to be trained, of course, and I'm still not trained. So I would not be very good at acting because I've never had any training. But at the time, they barely had either. They were just beginning in their careers. And then, I became a mechanic and they all became rich and famous. And everybody knows them. But it was an aptitude that I was always drawn to, and it was always fun. And I felt the improv was extremely good. That's why there's been a couple chances I've had and I should have taken them on doing a comedy set. And they go, can you get a tight 10? And I go, yeah. And like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. Have you ever done it? No. But I think I could write it. I think I could do a tight 10 in a comedy. I don't think I could fold, and I may fail. I mean, you fail at that, but I'd try it. I'd put it together. If I knew a place to get up on stage and do something, I'd give it a shot. I'd do it for free just to try it. Even in my age, even at 56 years old, fuck yeah, I'd make fun of how old I am. Yeah. I'd make fun of how fat I am. I'd draw the audience in and try to, I would still to this day try to do something like that. I wouldn't be afraid of it at all. But that's when you asked, have I always been that way? Yes.
I'd love to see you on the Kill Tony show. It started as a podcast. I think it's probably bigger on YouTube now. But this comedian, Tony Hillcliffe, they bring on people like yourself, and they kind of like putting through the gauntlet, but they're like, all right, stand here and give us a tight 3 or a tight 1 or whatever it is, or just give us your best joke. Give us a one-liner or whatever it is. And they'll roast one of the comedians sitting there judging, you're fat, you're bald, you look like a Twinkie, whatever it is. And then you kind of it's just such a trial by fire experience. Yeah, it sounds terrifying to me.
Yeah, but so what? Even if you go out there and they burn you up, it's like, at the end, I'd be like, man, that was fun. Thanks. Let's do it again. It's like, really? Yeah, you're goddamn right.
That's the Mike Tyson mentality, It's like, well, what the hell if I get punched in the face? That's my job. That's what I'm doing.
I have a Mike Tyson story.
You do?
I lived in Vegas for 2 years, and it was when he was boxing and living there. And he had come to the dealership was called Wilden Pride Dodge. And I was one of their lead techs there. And he wanted to buy a bunch of Vipers when the Dodge Viper came out.
Oh, hell yeah.
And he was like going to buy, I think, 6 or 7 Vipers.
Yeah.
So he comes in with all his people and the owners there, and they get everybody out there. And the service manager says, look, man, you got to come out here with us. I said, what the fuck do I need to be there for? Because somebody asked a technical question. You're a Viper certified guy. There's only like 2 of us in town.
Wow.
And he's like, no one's going to ask you, but if they did, you know
you're
the
there.
Shit. It's like, all right, no problem, because you knew the basics of it, whatever they needed to know. And so we're out there, and we're all kind of in a line, and they got these Vipers out there, and Mike and his entourage come through, and I don't know, somebody said the wrong thing to him, and he comes kind of walking down the line of all of us at the Vipers, and there's salespeople there and parts people there, and he's just looking at us all, staring at us. He comes right by me, and he kind of stops, and he goes, I'm not buying any of these motherfucking cars. There's scratches all over them. The fucking cars got scratches. You fucking want me to spend this money when the cars got scratches? You couldn't even fucking polish them up? Fuck you, I'm out of here. And he's like looking at the first part of the conversation. What the fuck do I have to do with scratches in your car?
Did I need to be here?
But I'm not going to, what am I going to say other than, it's fucked up, Mike. I'm with you, buddy. Yeah. And so then he goes on, he finishes his speech yelling at everybody. Sure as shit, he went across the street. There's a BMW caddy corner from us, and he bought 6 or 7 BMWs and then drove them slowly through the car lot going, I told you I had the fucking money. I spent it because these cars aren't all fucked up with no scratches. And he drove right through. We had to put all the Vipers away that they special ordered, and there's my Mike Tyson story. Yeah.
Holy crap, man. And I got a free impression out of that too. You got to warn me before you hit me with that shit. That was good. Dude, that's hilarious. Man.
I used to try to do impressions when I was in Oregon. They had me do a radio spot for a couple of different companies as Forrest Gump. And they ran those for a while because I had a pretty mean Forrest Gump back then.
I can already hear you. I can hear you're even getting into it in your mind. I can tell.
Well, because they're talking about it. So, but it's just that's when you asked if it was it was being quick-witted or having those things. It was always on my mind. In fact, the person I related to the most, and I by no means, let me qualify this statement. I am never trying to tell you that I equate to somebody.
Okay.
Ever, but I want to say a person that I really related to in their profession even their interviews where they were serious and kind of had dark moments, I'm like, oh yeah, I felt that way. That I connected with on so many levels was Robin Williams.
Really?
Absolutely, with the dark side of his life, with the things he went through, but then his comedy, his wit, his spontaneity. And I'll tell you something that I did, because my wife has known me since I was 5 years old. We've known each other forever, and she always relates like, well, you could do that, or I wonder if you could do that.
I'd love to see you do that.
Yeah,
Try that.
and one thing she kind of dogged me on one time, we were watching that show, what was the show? Is it Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
Where they come out and they Drew Carey did the thing, and you just...
Heavy improv.
Improv, right.
Yeah.
And so she was like, oh, you know, you're pretty good at this, but, you know, I wonder if you could do that. And then I remember... when they started it, Drew Carey would read something, and then I would try to come up with something on the spot during the show, looking right at her. And I did that for probably 4 episodes, and she was like, holy shit. I go, you made me mad that you doubted that I could even participate. And I was coming up with stuff, and I know theirs are rehearsed. They get all their lines ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
They get there. We're going to ask you to come up with a movie about this, and they get to think about those things.
Oh, yeah.
And she knows that. And I was trying to do them on the spot, and I was hitting more than half of them just as fast as they were
Coming
unrehearsed.
in cold.
Oh, yeah, coming in cold. And so, yeah, I've always had, my brain has always been kind of goofy that way, dumb, that you think you'd want to sink into something that you could be an astronaut or something, and you lock in with that. No. I lock into dumb stuff. I lock into, why are Tootsie Rolls and Zingers wrapped a certain way, and that's where my brain sits all day long with that stuff.
I can empathize with that because, my dad always said your brain works differently than other people's. You hyper focus on issues that most people wouldn't, whatever it is. He goes, there's something special about you. I can't tell you what it is now. And you failed algebra, so,
I did too. Failed algebra 3 times in high school. I finally gave up. I couldn't get it.
Thank God I'm not the only one. I feel like everybody I meet is good at math, man, and I'm not. And I wasn't exceptional at any other subject. I was a C student through and through.
Right.
But I resonate with that because I lost my train of thought. But I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Given all those inherent talents, you went into the mechanical field.
Yeah.
And does that come back to what you just said, which is you kind of latch on to like, well, what if I can just be the best? What if I could put a V12 in a Porsche?
Well, I hung around with a lot of people growing up that were older than me. I'm 13, 14, and 15, and there's dudes in the neighborhood. And people don't understand this when you say you're working in your garage outside till 3:00 in the morning. But when you're Southern California, the temperature's so nice.
Oh, it's the best.
And you
the
can
most
go
nostalgic feeling you can.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're listening to K-Earth 101, which was the oldies, the 50s and 60s back then.
It's still.
And we go to In-N-Out Burger until right when they close, and we come back and we keep working. They're teaching me flathead engines from the 50s, and I'm learning all these things. And then I remember talking to my wife one day, because I'm going to tell you a piece of information.
Oh boy.
It won't make you get up and walk out of the studio, but it will cut us off from doing business together.
I don't have any weapons on me or anything, so whatever. Throw it at me.
I didn't graduate high school. I don't have a diploma, and I don't have a GED. Didn't go to college. So most people, they walk away at that point going, well, if you're just stupid, then we're leaving you. But I remember maybe I was 24, and I remember sitting down one night with my wife and going, I got to get a career. I mean, I'm behind. Everybody's doing stuff, and I'm behind. She goes, you work on cars. I'm like, can I do that? Is that okay? Can I do that as a career? Is it okay? She goes, yeah, you're fine. I'm like, oh, good. Because I was only really good in my mind at 3 things, and cars was one of them. So I just stayed with that and moved on. But there was always this itch or this hobby of impersonations, of comedy, of quick wit, of radio personality type stuff. But it was never going to lead to anything where you could pay your bills. So it was always, you could poke around with it as a hobby or be funny, but your job was to pay so your family could eat, was work on cars. Yeah. And that's what I did at dealerships. And I couldn't be, like you said, can you put a V12 and something? I moved away from that, but I became a hot shot when I went to, it was like, I guess I was 19 or 20, And I got all the training, and I was very adept at cars. So I was one of the youngest. It's like a hot shot with early computers before. Very difficult to diagnose stuff back then because computers didn't give you any information. They ran everything, but they ran it poorly, and you couldn't figure out why. It was a very difficult time in the late 80s and early 90s for drivability, and I was very good at it. They had competitions and stuff with the dealerships at levels, and I would always win these things and have these awards. And that I was always prided myself on. Hey, I'm really good at this one thing. Would I have preferred to be good at the quick wit, the comedy, at anything? Would I like to stand in Robin Williams' shadow? You're damn right.
Yeah.
But there was never an opportunity for that. So
right
there I was. When you ask how did I go from one to the other, I stuck with it because it was one of the things I was good at. And I would love to be the custom guy putting the big engine. I got a 2002 BMW sitting over here under the tarp, and I got some old Chevy from the 60s motors with camelback heads and 4-bolt mains and stuff that I want to put together and put in that BMW at some point. But I mean,
hell yeah,
it was always working. And now Gen X Talks takes up 6, 7, 8 hours.
Yeah.
So, you're stuck doing that, and you still have these aspirations, but now it's switched a little bit. Now the automotive stuff's on hold, and now the quick wit is what I'm doing,
Sure.
It isn't paying any bills, but it's fun, talking to you.
Yeah.
So when you're asking has it always been there, and how did I end up with cars? That's the short story, and now it's kind of begun to flip the other way a little bit.
Now this all stemmed, my understanding is probably wrong, this all stemmed from Briggs' TikTok?
All of it. It's all his creation. Every bit of this has been his idea and his build. Well, he tried to be TikTok famous when TikTok first came out.
Sure.
Horrible at it. Couldn't get anywhere. Did the stupidest videos ever. And he came to me and he's like, I want to be TikTok famous. And by then I'm starting to understand what TikTok is. And I thought it was stupid. And I said, well, go find a niche. Go find something nobody else is doing. So he wanders off and can't figure anything out. He went to his mother. And she says, well, you got to find something, and why don't you interview your dad? And he comes back, would you sit on a stool under a spotlight while I ask you questions? And I go, fuck no, I'm not doing that. So he comes back to his mother, and this is when he's 15, and he says, okay, I know this might work because Dad's pretty quick on these things, and he's funny.
Yeah.
And, he can be angry. And she says, well, you got to catch him when he's kind of doing something, but don't do him when he's doing his taxes.
No.
But if he's taking something, he can kind of look over and go, what do you want?
I don't need this shit right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he got a couple of those ideas. And then the first one he did, he asked me, he goes, now you remember, he's been carting this camera around for 2 years. So we all know what he's doing because he's been trying to be TikTok famous. So it wasn't like when he walks up and he's holding a camera, I'm like, whoa, you're filming?
Yeah.
Everybody knows he's filming. He's filming all the fucking time for 2 years.
He's trying.
We know what he's doing. It wasn't a shock. That actually worked to his advantage.
Yeah.
But he comes up, he goes, Dad, just real quick. Dad, tell me, get the fuck out. No, before I go, how do you feel about Common Core math? And I go, I don't know, Common Core math is 2 + 2 is green, and how do we all feel about it? That's Common Core math. And he asked questions like that, like, what do you think about self-driving cars? And I said, self-driving cars, I said, the first time I see one, I'm going to fucking put it into the wall on turn 4. And when the cop gets here, I'm going to go, I got it.
Yeah.
I got him. I don't know how he got out, but I got him. Give me another pickup truck. I'll go get the next one for you, too. Every one of those fuckers, I'm putting them into the wall. They shouldn't be on the road. It's dangerous. I saw Terminator. I know what Skynet is,
Yeah, I'm not dumb.
Yeah, so, and his first video got 700,000 views.
Yeah.
And back then, that was just insane.
Oh yeah, we couldn't. You're talking about people who post on Facebook, get 15 likes, and 2 comments,
right,
to 700,000 views.
Yeah,
those times were insane.
It was incredible. And then he started getting. I think in the first 2 days he got 30,000 followers.
Oh.
And he just goes, I got to do another one. And so he kept working controversial topics. And of course his mother's feeding him this stuff. Yeah, go ask him about global warming. That'll get him going, Nice. And so he feeds these things and it grows. And then I hate saying this because we've actually lived it down. We've actually got it so far behind us that nobody brings it up anymore. But in the beginning, everybody brought it up. But he has one video that has 26.5 million views. And it's called Dead Horse.
Yeah. F a dead horse or something, or kick a...
He goes, I go, all the shit you're doing is repetitive. I go, I don't know what the fuck you're even doing. You ask the same fucking questions all the time. He goes, kind of like I'm beating off to a dead horse. And I go, what? I go, it's beating a dead horse, you fucking idiot. He go, what are you? I go, you did not just say that. He goes, I didn't say it right. I go, no. And I mean, I'm mad. My face is blood red. I'm going, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
And that was just, it skyrocketed him from there, because that was 6 months in. He was already doing very well.
Sure.
And then he hits another home run like that.
Yeah, that's when shit gets crazy.
It just pushed it into the stratosphere. And as long as he was consistent, with these things, and he got really clever, because he would work out. If I was arguing with somebody about a topic and I got done, he knew that it was fresh on my mind. And he walked up, tell me about global warming. After I just got done yelling about it, he knew.
Maybe you thought of 2 or 3 more things you want to say now.
So it was all him. And then he's like, hey, we should do a podcast. I'm like, what's a podcast? And then I told you the story of how we developed it from him and I to adding Mary in, and then to dropping him to get a formula that worked. And then he was like, well, we should do live streams. And we did a thing called The Big Show, which everybody wants us to do again. And that was pure game show. And we got, when you talk about having 300 or 400 people watching you at a time.
Yeah.
And then it goes to 1,000 or 2,000 during the thing. We were on TikTok and we were getting 4,000 people.
Whoa.
Consistently the whole time. You'd get done and look at your numbers. You're in the 30,000 range for 1 hour of people that watched you.
Wow.
And it was us interacting. We had a cell phone. Just put a cell phone on a tripod, and we get behind my toolbox. We turn my toolbox and we just talk about shit. And I'd be the grumpy guy towards him. But then we started doing stuff, and I remember one time he says, he had a piece of paper, and I said, I bet I can hit the lens of that camera, and you can't. So he wadded up a piece of paper and threw it at the audience, at the lens of the camera, and then I did. And the audience would vote and see who got closer. So that became a skit we did every week called Paper Toss. And everyone's like, people would come in, did I miss Paper Toss yet? I got here late. Did they do it already?
Yeah.
Then we did another one called Dead Air. And I don't even know how we came up with this. And we're like, look, in every industry out there, you can't have dead air. How many times have you guys been watching TV and all of a sudden the video's playing and there's no audio? And people lose their jobs on that shit. You don't have dead air. Dead air is bad. Well, here at Gen X Talks, we want you guys to know we work hard at perfecting dead air. All week long, we take time and we scientifically go through these things, and we're trying to, and Brig goes, yeah, we got stethoscopes and bricks and eyedroppers, man. We're serious about our research, and we perfect dead air. And so we would say, we proudly present to you the highest quality dead air you will ever see. And then we just sit there and it's quiet for
you guys are the best at it.
40 seconds. And then we go, I'm moved. I actually felt, did you feel? He goes, I felt something, Dad. That was, and people go, that was the best dead air ever.
It was more dead than normal.
Right. And people come on, they're like, did they do dead air yet? Did I miss Paper Toss?
Oh my God.
And then we did something called Frozen, where we would, all of a sudden, and we wouldn't move.
You got me on that one.
Yeah, and we'd freeze, and we'd wait until someone go, dude, your stream froze. Your stream's frozen. And then Mary would go, oh, Josh over here says our stream froze. Hey, well, fuck you, Josh. It wasn't frozen. We're just seeing if you were stupid enough to you fall for it.
Yeah.
Well, the regulars would learn that, and then they wouldn't say anything. They'd know when we did Frozen, all the people that watch the show every week, like, shh, don't say anything. Mm-hmm. Let's see who we catch. And we'd always catch someone on Frozen. We'd make fun of the person. Whoever says, oh, it's dead, or your stream froze, we'd make fun of them. And then all the audience would make fun of them and say, oh, you fell for it. And there was, what was the other skit? There was like 4 or 5 we did. He buys this telephone, old school telephone. And he goes, Dad, can you make this ring with a button? And I said, yeah, I probably could. So I took it apart. You plugged it into the wall, and I put a button on the front of it to make the bell ring. So it was, this is where improv came in. He would ring the bell on the phone, and I'd go, you got a fucking telephone? He goes, yeah, I got a phone. Why? And hello? Yeah, hang on. It was always for me. Uh-huh. And I would have to, whatever he said, I'd have to bro with it. He'd just make up a name. Like the first one, he goes, it's God. It's for you. He's a little pissed about the stuff you say.
Yeah.
And so I have to go live on this show and talk to God. I remember the first one I did, I go, yeah, no. And I hung up, and he goes, You just hung up on God. I go, he called collect. And that was a big show that we did. And then we just quit doing it because we didn't have time or space. But that was a huge thing. Again, just inventing paper toss. Who would think paper toss was fun to throw a paper at a camera, but everybody in the audience would see it come right at them and they would tell us who was closer. They'd vote.
Yeah.
All these things just developed to where we had this audience every week that people just tuned in to see all the stupid things we were doing as father and son. And the whole time was filled with me going, God damn, you're dumb. You know what?
Yeah.
How did you fucking get here? You know, I want a DNA test. I don't think you're my kid. All the time. And so it was his idea to do the big show. It was his idea to do the paper toss.
Right.
All of these things came from Briggs throwing out ideas and then us putting the stuff together. And we've got rid of a lot of things that didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, we tried a lot of stuff.
Kiss some frogs, huh?
Yeah, it was just we did a General's Lunchbox show on Facebook every Monday and Wednesday at around noon to get a different audience. And we tried it for 6 months. And we tried to do something for a long time.
That's the college try, man.
And this isn't working. So there's a lot of things we've pulled away and kept the stuff that seemed to work, and don't change it too much, just try to keep going. And that's where you come in. Right now, you're seeing us at a point where a lot of our things that we've gotten rid of that didn't work, we've kept the things that did, and we've tried to be faithful to them and push forward. Two things that people want that we just haven't found a way to work back in was the big show. People just go, could you just do one a month? Because they were so much fun to do these things with these skits and these things that and I'm drinking the whole time.
Hell yeah.
I'm drinking alcohol and I'm just getting sillier as we go along, and it's great. The other one was cooking shows. I think we've done 4 of those, and they pay me to put on a fucking chef hat. And I'm like, let's get this fucking over with, this goddamn hat.
Yeah.
And then they pay to put on the hat and the apron, and then we cook stuff, and we have all these cameras over different angles on us, the food and the stove. And, of course, they're like, hey, you need this much butter. And I break the stick of butter and just squeeze it in my hand and throw it. And he's like, is not how you do that. And I go, that's how I do it. Let's fucking go. I want to get the show over with.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, he's trying to follow the instructions correctly. I'm speeding it along with all this stuff. And he's like, you're not measuring these things right. It says, I go, there's no such thing as a quarter of a tablespoon. There's no such measurement. He pulls out these little spoons. He goes, see what it says?
Yeah.
Who took time to make little spoons like that? Why can't you just My grandmother never had spoons like that. Her shit was better than anything we're going to cook. She didn't have that. They use terminology like a pinch of something, a dab.
Yeah.
And these shows were fun, but they are 2.5, 3 hours to set up in our kitchen because all this stuff has to come down.
Shoot.
Go in there.
Yeah.
And then it all has to come back out when we're done.
Yeah.
And we did them, and they were great, and they were fun, and people wanted more. But it's like, you'd almost have to have someone give us like $5,000, and you'd have to have all of these things in a suitcase or 2 or 3 suitcases.
There you go.
Where you could just take it, set it up, put it right back, and put it aside. And I told Briggs, I said, I can't afford that right now. I cannot just go out there and spend $5,000 and set it all up to do a cooking show. I wouldn't mind, but we're just not. That's just too much work, and we're not there yet. And with the big show, we could probably do it. Now that we have everything set up in the garage for the garage show, we could use all that gear for a big show in the garage, like how we started. We've done some in the garage, we've done some in the kitchen, depending on temperature outside, and we could probably go back and do that. But where you arrived with us was after we've refined all of these things, and now the package that Jacob is able to present to people is pretty well crafted. It's pretty well put together, where it's like, well, we're not experimenting as much anymore.
Yeah.
We do some things like the gold coin thing. We're doing stuff like that, but but we've got it down to like, okay, this is what works. Keep putting in the effort, and these things are just growing slowly. That's kind of a history, but it's all been the kid. That was your question.
Yeah.
How much of it is him? It's all been him all the way through, with all the suggestions. And then I would say things during a live stream, and he would take them. He goes, that was great. He would take it out. And then my wife said, call it Gen X slices. And they're a little piece of pizza looking thing. And you would take out a slice out of the live stream and put it out for a regular video on YouTube. And they never did like exceedingly well, and you didn't make any real money on them. But then he changed it to a 2-minute drill. He goes, hey, instead of me pulling out 6 minutes of that thing you said that was so great and everybody loved it, do you remember the topic? Say it again. Record it as a 2-minute drill. And so now we put out 2-minute drills where I go, the one I'm doing today is about divorce. It's like, hey, there's a lot of things about divorce. This is my 56th lap around the sun. Mm-hmm. Pay attention to a few things. There's something I can tell you about divorce. You're never going to do it. You don't have the ability to do it. You're not that cool. But if you give me 120 seconds, I'll tell you what it is. And then I do 2 minutes on that deal. And we have a whole section of playlists on 2-minute drills. And they're not always under 2 minutes, but they're short.
Sure.
And they're topical.
Yeah.
From the old guy's point of view.
Yeah.
His idea. These things that we still do are his. He goes, you know what? We should do that. And then it's slices. Let's not do slices. Let's have him redo it, but we'll put it as a 2-minute drill. All the stuff you see is his development, his thoughts, and then we work on them to grow them, but they're all his. All of this.
It's incredible how his mind works, and yours too. You guys are both kind of like partners in crime in that sense, because I am such a one-track mind type of person. And like I said earlier, you guys are, how can we engage? How can we try this, and that?
Yeah.
But what I can say is this, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you, from my experience, in any product, and you guys have a product, an awesome product, in any suite, there's a good, better, best. There's this one's too hot, this one's too cold, this one's just right.
Yeah.
When I tried to understand your guys' media media channels, outlets, shows, whatever you want to call it,
right.
It was a lot to take in, and I'm sitting here thinking, what show am I going to be on? Or even if I'm just a listener who wants to drive from LA to Bakersfield, should I listen to the I Know a guy? Should I listen to the main one, which most people default to the main one, and I'm glad I did. But overwhelming is just the word that comes to mind. And I know what you guys are doing, and you're doing the right things. You have to kiss the frogs. You have to see what's got a return, what doesn't.
Right.
It's just, I don't know, my mind always goes to, Goldilocks. This one's just right, that type of mentality.
Well, and if we had to scale it back, like let's say something happened where like, okay, you can't do it anymore. You got other commitments or something comes up, you'd have to decide like, well, just do the ambush videos and the podcast. Those are, you just narrow it down to those. But right now, and we're not trying to get bigger with more things.
Yeah, okay.
We're not adding any more, other than gold coin is just something you do for fun. Mm-hmm. And it's on a little side tangent here, and it'll work its course and be done. And, there's a movie night. One of the staff members in Briggs do a free movie night every Monday night, and people join the Discord and they talk about the movie and stuff. Those are all little filler things that make the whole product of Gen X Talks complete.
Yeah,
and,
I get it.
And even the interviews, the interviews are not a big hit thing. And you see on YouTube, they don't have a lot of views. They get more views on Spotify.
Yeah.
The audio versions do. Like
sure.
When I get done with this, I'll rip the audio off and put it over there, and that gets more listens. But there's zero monetization to those things. It is literally just another aspect. Like, well, because there are people that just like the interviews.
Yeah.
There are people that just are interested in one aspect. Fine.
100%.
You're still part of the Gen X Talks family. You just like these two things over here. And if someone say, well, these are the main things over here, and they don't care. They just like, fine. Then I will give you just as much attention on those little areas over there that are free as I am over here on the big ones.
Yeah.
Because that's just as important as all of these as part of the whole package.
Yeah.
Which brings us full circle back around to Jacob. And I one of the words you just said, I think, might be what is a problem for Jacob is when I tell him something like, why don't you just sell the whole package? Why don't you just sell the whole thing? Tell him, say, we got a podcast, we do shorts, we do live streams, we got the gold coins over here, we have interviews over here, we got 2-minute drills, a whole list of 2-minute drills. We're doing polls on YouTube that get 10 to 20,000. Just tell them the whole, put them, get a number from them and just tell them we'll put you everywhere. I don't care.
Kit and caboodle.
And I think it's hard for some people to go, well, that's just spreading us out too thin. It's like, well, why? You didn't, what do you mean too thin? I'm adding you to this. I'm adding you to that. I'm putting your name here. I'm putting your name there. That's like saying there's too many billboards in town.
Yeah.
There's too many billboards out there. Now you've put too many billboards up on too many highways.
Yeah.
For me, I don't see that as a problem, but I think Jacob looks at it and goes, they're really not going to believe that some of your bigger products are done very well. There's still, and this is why I brought it up to you in the beginning. People think if you're just a podcast and you're strong, you're probably not very good at Facebook Reels.
Yeah.
If you're very good at YouTube Shorts or TikToks, you probably don't have a good following on a live stream, do you? But like I said, now that I've painted you this picture, we've really, in coming up on 4 years now, we've refined it to where all of these things are pretty strong.
Yeah.
They're not the best ones out there. We're not Joe Rogan on our podcast, but we're way better than him on Shorts,
Sloppy seconds. It's okay for me.
You know what I'm saying? So I think he has a problem going, these guys do everything. Well, then they're not good at anything, and I don't want to be part of it. I think that might worry him a little bit. But I keep coming back with that. You can't have too many billboards up. You're actually reaching everybody. Why don't you just sell Gen X Talks as one thing and say, here, we're going to do this, and I don't know. Then again, now we're getting into an area that I don't know anything about. I'm talking out my ass, way above my pay grade. I don't know.
I can only speak customer in this particular transaction, and I can just say, like we talked about before, it's hard for me to harness or wrap my head around where all I'm going to be mentioned and how. When you throw at me 4 shows plus 4 social media platforms plus 2 live streams plus this new experiment, I'm like, oy vey, I don't know how to, like you said, I don't know
how do you check up on it? Yeah. How do
you check up on it? But if you say, hey, we got a good, better, and best, take your pick. You want to start spending a little bit of money, we're gonna create kick-ass TikToks for you. But here's what happens. We create kick-ass TikToks, and we got that done for $1,000. You got exposure, sales, cool. Here's what happens. Now that we've done TikToks on you, we've invested so much time. You're in our thoughts. You're in our brains. You're going to come up in the podcast. Unfortunately, because we have people who pay for the spots, we can't just shout you out. So, you need to be part of those paid spots. And that's where osmosis, whatever the word is, where the magic starts happening and the snowball gets rolling.
Right.
And then they're kind of in everything. But to look at it as this giant package, and I'm like, I don't understand live streams at all. I mean, I get the concept. You're live streaming.
Right.
I don't know where to watch it or Twitch, Switch, Critch.
Yep.
I don't understand any of that stuff. So I'm like, I can't go to bed and tell my wife, we did a great deal. We're probably going to get her a good return, because if I can't explain it in one sentence, I'm not going to do it.
And I can't explain it in one sentence. All I could, in fact, if I didn't have Jacob, if we didn't have Jacob helping us and guiding us, my thing would be, I don't know how I would ever tell people without sounding boring what we're, and I'll tell you, that was perfectly said. How do you explain it in one sentence? How would I say, and things that click into my head that I know that maybe you don't, is when we do one live stream, we're broadcasting it on 2 YouTube channels, 1 TikTok channel, 2 Facebook channels, and Rumble at the same moment.
Holy crap.
One show. We use Streamlabs and we just branch it out. We have staff members on every one of those interacting with the fans on the comments. Each one knows who their staff member is. My wife will sit there and she has Google Docs open. Staff member Josh Maddox, who's a great guy on Rumble, he goes, oh, this guy had a really good comment. He copies and pastes it onto the Google Docs. Now it's in front of her. So is the guy on 2 YouTube channels. So is the guy on 2 Facebook channels. And they're putting those things in here, and she reads them, and she's, oh, this guy on Facebook just gave you 100 stars. He was talking about, the Trump debate and something. And then their name gets said. They donate a couple stars.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, shit, they're watching their own show where they're paying attention to us. Yeah. The only way we can do that is we have staff on every location monitoring, commenting back, say, I can't really send that one to the general, which is what they nicknamed me.
Yeah.
I can't send them that, but I'm with you on, and they talk. There's a staff member representing Gen X Talks on every platform all at once. So when you say, I don't understand how you put all these things out. No, don't point all around. One camera, one microphone going out in 6 or 7 places.
Yeah.
At once. Same with the reel. When a short video, an ambush video comes out, kid puts it up on YouTube, then TikTok, then to Facebook, and then Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram. It takes about 40 minutes, but one video goes out everywhere.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can help to explain to people how diverse everything is like, okay, yes, it's diverse and it goes out everywhere, but what's just one product, and then it goes out. And we have 70,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube. We just crossed 300,000 on Instagram. There's 380,000 on one Facebook. There's 470,000 on the other Facebook. There's 1.1 million on TikTok. The reason that I have found that it's good to put these things out everywhere, every platform audience is different on how they take it.
Yes.
I mean,
a Facebook reel may go viral that same video on TikTok.
Same video, and they don't
diddly
care.
Squat.
Yep. And this is what I try to tell Jacob about marketing. It's like, look, man, it's really tough to tell somebody, but if we say, hey, Grant, got your shit for Tork Strap, and if you just want it on TikTok, we'll just put it on. That's a gamble.
Yeah.
What if they don't like it? What if they don't give a shit?
Yeah.
What if they're a bunch of 20-year-olds that just don't care? But you put it out everywhere. Some of the channels are going to go, this is the fucking coolest thing ever. Mm-hmm. And some are going to go, that's all right. And some are going to ignore it. But that's the way they treat us too with our videos and our podcasts. Some like it, some don't. But guess what? Because you're putting it out everywhere, you're guaranteed an audience somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to dig your shit.
You're 100% right. It's just how do we... I can't do this. I can. I love it. But this is why I started the podcast. People will call me with an invention idea, and I'll get so invested in it, I'll lose sleep for that person that I don't even know. But that's the value people can get out of the podcast.
Sure.
Anyway, subtle plug.
Subtle plug there. Yeah.
So it's like, yes, you're 100% right. I do the same thing. I broadcast any video I shoot. I don't cater it to one platform. I make it universal: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Right.
If I had a nickel for every time I rattled off those 4 platforms.
Sure.
And 9 times out of 10, it'll hit on one of the 4 platforms. Not all of them. Never all of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll do good on 2. So you're 100%. I'm with that. It's just how do I tell a customer / audience member one line, or call it a tagline, where they feel warm inside? It's like, holy shit, Gen X Talks is going to take care of my wants and needs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Both as Tork Strap and both as guy driving from LA to Bakersfield.
All right. Let me put it this way. If I had to shoot from the hip,
Sure.
just guy to guy, having a beer, talking about shit, because it doesn't matter. We're just fucking around. None of this is too serious at the moment. We're just having a good time. Mm-hmm. If I had to shoot from the hip, if you right now looked at me and said, all right, you got 60 seconds, sell it to me. And I had to, do what you just said. I've taken so much of what you said. I'm going to keep it forever. But that one thing about how do you explain thing in one sentence? All right. Gen X Talks across all the channels has over 2.6 million followers and subscribers. They're very loyal people. It's a tight-knit family, more so than most other platforms and channels that I've seen. There's a lot of things that a lot of products that we have that we put out there to do. If you signed on with us, I'll put you everywhere, and we'll try to figure out what works and what doesn't, and we'll focus on those more next time around. But all I can tell you is I'm going to put you out there to 2.6 million people with my heartfelt endorsement, and I'm going to try to reach those people for you the same way I reached them and got them to 2.6 million. That's all I'm going to try to do. May not work at all. May be a big bust, or may hit a home run. I have no idea. All I can promise you is I'm going to get your name out there to 2.6 million people in every way I possibly can. I'm gonna write your name on the back of a gold coin, and I'm gonna hide it on the top of the Empire State Building and give people clues. And my wife and I are gonna talk about how easy Tork Strap is to use on our podcast, that she can go out and strap stuff down. I have no idea how that's going to resonate with anybody. I can put it out there, and I can tell people that I believe in it. And if people believe in me, maybe they'll give you a shot. After that, your product has to earn the rest. There's my dumb mechanic pitch. I'm not Jacob.
Okay, so that was 2 sentences. Dude, that was awesome. No,
I didn't even charge you for the second sentence, man. You got that for free.
That was awesome. I mean, the first thing you said, I didn't know the 2.7 million. He could have put he did. I'm sure he did. I know Jacob well enough to know now. He put the 2.7 million in the document, but I didn't remember it. It's just like we talked about with Marcy. You may have said an ad for the grill guy, but I didn't remember. I remembered Marcy.
Yeah.
So it's positioning, delivery. But 2 things. Put that whole speech you just did into ChatGPT and say, create me 3 taglines out of this, or full sentences, so that when I'm pitching this to audience members and sponsors, they understand what we do and who we are. and he or she will give you 3 awesome responses. And I forgot the second one, but it was awesome.
Well, I don't know. Again, going back to what you said, if the quick wit or the things that come to mind, that's it. And I know that's why there's Jacobs in the world that do those things professionally because they got it on lock. I don't know how to do that.
Good.
I would call you up and say, hey, can I have 30 seconds of your time, or can I come down there and knock on your door? And I'd say, look, man, we've crafted a very cool thing for almost 4 years. It's pretty polished now to where we know what we're doing. We got 2.6 million people, and they like us.
Yeah.
They're pretty faithful. And they like me, and they like the kid, so maybe if we tell them to give your product a shot, they would, because they trust us now after almost 4 years.
It's true.
And then do what you want with it. Let us know. And there's people that would come back and say, well, we gave you some money and it didn't work. We didn't really make any sales. All right. Well, I tried. I feel bad about that. But sometimes they'll lie to us too. It's like, well, I'll tell you what, it didn't go very well, but I like you. We'll try it again.
I'll do it for 600.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I don't know how they did.
Yeah.
I'd have to trust that I let them down, and I'd have to give them a discount and try again. And they may have a home run with it. Mm-hmm. I have no way of tracking that stuff at all. Mm-hmm. And Jacob, I don't think he has a way to track anything on there. And I think he's got to believe them too. But Jacob's always calling me, give me the analytics, give me the numbers. And I'm like, I don't know. Let me go look it up and try to find it.
Screw that.
And he's always asking like, well, I want to be able to present. I want to be able to look. Okay. So I get him what he wants. But when I look at it, I go, how is this going to translate to someone being interested in what we're doing? Mm-hmm. I mean, and maybe this is the best way to end this part of the conversation. We don't have the biggest numbers in podcasting. We don't. But we're fucking solid. I know that. We're fucking above, we're batting above 500 with that.
Hell yeah.
We are not the top shorts guy, TikTok out there. But we're way ahead of everybody. We're in the top 1% because we're still around. We're still doing it. We didn't quit after 6 months like everybody did. Same with the podcast.
Yeah.
And so when I try to tell a presentation, I'm like, we're not the best at anything. Maybe we're not the very top guy. Mr. Beast has the most YouTube views. All right, I got you. This guy's Joe Rogan got the best podcast. All right, I got you. I'm fine with that. But fuck, man, our package is pretty fucking solid. And if you can advertise across the whole thing, how could it not generate something good for somebody? It's one of the better packages because there's so much in it, and it's all pretty good. We don't have anything that's an anchor dragging us down. We've got rid of those things that didn't work.
Right.
We've admitted they don't work, and that's where I'm at. Is that how do you come full circle with that? It's like, I'm not the best at anything, and if you're going to talk to an advertiser guy, just be like, look, man, here's the big package, the big numbers. When Jacob says, well, give me the Spotify numbers again. Why? That's not going to be good enough. We don't, the whole thing is good enough, but you pull out one thing, and go, yeah, that's pretty solid.
You're right.
Plug it back in, and can you just look at the whole thing? I'm not taking a spare tire off a Cadillac and going, look. You want to advertise with this part of the Cadillac? No. Mm-hmm. Put it back on the car and advertise the whole fucking car. It makes more sense. Mm-hmm. Don't just look at the seats. Don't just look at the radio. It's a whole fucking car makes the car. You can't pull something and go, that's not the best radio of all the cars out there, but it's pretty good for a Cadillac. It's good.
Yeah.
I know that, but can you just sell the whole car? I don't know. I'm rambling again, but that's a little bit how I feel.
Well, yeah. And look, 100% right. It's hard to. Well, no, it's. I think to me it's easy because I like to think very simple. I like very simple cause and effect result type of situations. And in my mind, you tried your 1 minute pitch. I'll try my 1 minute pitch. Hey, what I can say is it's 2024. We can't track data. We can't promise you anything. But I can promise you we have 2.7 million, this, that, and the other. And then we have a loyal following. And they generally fall into this, and this niche category. We would love to have you as part of the Gen X family. You'd be a part of a small group who are on a retainer. We live in almost this beautiful commune of shared time with the Gen X family. I don't take any random one-off deals. I have a family. They're on a retainer, and they're all part of the show, and they contribute to the betterment and they benefit our listeners.
Of all of it, of the whole thing.
Of the whole thing.
Yeah.
To me, that would make me feel warm inside. Some people who are data-driven, they're going to wander off, but you don't want them anyway because they're going to be a pain in your ass forever.
Yeah, because they're the ones who are going to come back and go,
Yeah,
look at this last week here. Look at last week's number. Like, dude.
F that. Now imagine this. You have 10 rock-solid clients, all paying a very fair retainer. You just eliminated 60 hours a week of work, of hunting, maintaining, renegotiating, right? 10 solid clients paying $1,500 a month, and they all know, hey, I could have a really great month where they talk about me constantly because my niche reflects what's going on in the news right now, whatever it is. Maybe not. You take the lumps, the highs and the lows, but at the end of the day, it's a set it and forget it. Meanwhile, Gen X Talks gets $15,000 gross revenue off the top.
Right.
That you don't have to work for to hunt down those deals over and over. You'll drop a client here and there. Who gives a shit? There's more.
Yeah.
But again, I oversimplify things, but that's kind of how I view it.
Well, Jacob listens to all these interviews before we post them. I edit them down, and if you weren't going to look, how long have we been talking?
It's not fair because I do a podcast, so I know it feels like 5 minutes, but it's probably been an hour 38.
2 hours and 30 minutes.
Shut up.
No, true story.
Oh my God.
2.5 hours we've been jaw-jacking. Yeah.
What are you going to do with this?
Well, I'll tell you right now, this is either going to be the best interview or the worst. And I mean that. And I'll tell you why. Because what you and I wandered off the reservation.
Yeah.
And we just kind of lost track of time talking about whatever we felt like. And your perspective on that side of the fence, my perspective on this side, and how we were shaped, that is either going to be gold for people. That is either going to be absolute gold. They're going to, holy shit. Now I get what how two guys on two things are trying to get together, trying to connect.
It's a voyeuring thing.
Or they're going to go, this is bullshit business advertising. Who gives a fuck? I'm not listening to this.
Yeah.
It's either going to be, for some people, it'll be the most boring thing ever. And some people are going to go, I had no fucking idea that small businesses and I had no idea how difficult it was and how you have to, both people are scared to go there because you don't know what to expect. And we just exposed all of it at a very basic level going, this is tough. And you had your perspectives and I had mine. I have no idea if I gave you any insight to our side, but goddamn, you sure did on mine.
I got a shitload out of
this.
I
got a ton from you. And this is either going to be gold material that's going to be played at Harvard University for classrooms so they can understand the human side of these things, or it's going to get like 4 views in 6 months and no one's going to care. Well, that's the way I view it.
I agree with you 100%. I'm working on a video edit right now, and every night I tell my wife this is either going to be a viral hit or a royal waste of time. Yeah. But I have learned the value of titling and expectations. So if somebody sees the title of this podcast and it says, Tork Strap, is Tork Strap the best strap ever? We were done with that in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So then he's going to be there at the hour 47 like, what the F I signed up to? But maybe if it's titled something like the CEO of this company refuses to talk about his product and goes on a tangent for 2.5 hours. Well, then they know what they're signing up for.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not trying to.
Okay. So now let's go back to just who I am.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I do with this. I will edit the whole thing. There's a little intro, and then there's the part I introduce us, and then he's talking. And I put a little exit music at the end. It's a thank you very much, and I do this, and then I get ready to rip the audio out. Before I get done, when I'm all done with that part, what I do is I go on camera.
Nice.
Before the intro even comes up, and I say, listen, I look right at the camera and say, listen, this interview went off the reservation. We lost track of time because we were two dudes that sat there talking about things that went to the heart, and it was problems with our end, his end. Look, if you don't want to watch, don't watch. I got you. But if you want to see two guys that lost track of time for almost 3 hours because the conversation went into a place where we never expected, then you're at the right place. And I back out, then the intro starts. But I hit him with that right up front and say, I've never, that's not something they're used to. They're going, why are you fucking talking? Where's your intro?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to be like, no, you need to give me 60 seconds before we start this.
Yeah.
This is something that you're either going to be incredibly impressed with, or you're going to hang up and discontinue your membership with me. But it's real. And it was the most brilliant time. I learned so much I can't even tell you. And give them some of this, and I'll give them 60 seconds before it starts, and that'll either shut them down or it gives them the hook. They will listen to the whole fucking thing, waiting for that hour and a half where we went off the reservation.
Yeah,
and it'll work. In that aspect,
you're
it'll work.
100% right. That's better than the title idea, because in the first 5 minutes, you put them in the frame of mind of what they're in for, and they're either going to shut it off there, and that's fine. You didn't need them, or they're going to say, okay, I'm in for the long haul. And you have the highest retention episode ever that you've created.
Could be. I don't know, but I'm going to give that 60-second prologue, and I'm going to make, even if I have to record it 3 or 4 times to make it right, that's going to go at the beginning to make people understand why they should listen, because it was one of the most human, unscripted elements where we just wandered wherever it took us.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than that.
100%. One thing I do on Invent With Me is I just I take 3 of the most like impactful one-liners that were said. Like when you said to me, do you take a guess how long we've been going? And I guessed and I was wrong. And oh shit, like just playing little blurbs like that, foreshadowing how did they get to that? I don't know. Anyway, I agree, man. This has been awesome. I've learned a lot. So glad we did this.
Me too. I got to see if my wife's even here. She left.
Uh-oh.
Grant, I can't tell you how glad I am that Jacob put us together on this.
Me too.
I can't even put into words how much I picked up, how much I learned from talking to you. And it's going to help. It's going to help Gen X Talks a ton by shaping, the way we change a few things, just enough in certain areas that just refines it. It was a big stepping stone for me doing this interview with you. And whether you do something with us or not with Jacob, I'm still talking about your stuff because I'm going to go try it. It's good content for us either way.
Only do it if it's good content, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's good content either way, know. And it'll be fun to do. But I really appreciate you making the drive out here. I'm glad we live close enough where you can.
I know. I love that.
Some of these I've had to do have been a lot of Zoom calls, but there's been quite a few that we've been able to get people to come out here.
Right?
Yeah, the Butcher guy came out here. Rudy Law was our first one. He played baseball for the Dodgers in the 70s, and he came out and sat in that chair, and we had a blast for a couple hours. For me, it's more fun having someone here.
Yeah.
Because we're shooting the shit and just hanging out.
Yeah.
I don't mind the Zoom calls. I'll do them.
Yeah.
And they're necessary, but it's a much better tone for the whole thing when someone's sitting here. When I'm looking, I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking right at you. So
right.
I really appreciate you for coming out. It was a great thing.
Appreciate you as well, Mark. Thank you.
All right, so now you had it. This literally 2 hours and 40. This is the longest interview that we've ever done at Gen X Talks, and we've wandered off the reservation before. We've gotten sidetracked on some things before, but I will tell you, this is selfishly. We did this very selfishly. We were talking, 2 guys were talking about our own lives, our own needs, our own companies, our own things. We forgot you were there. We absolutely forgot you guys were listening in. And now we're back to say thank you for staying this long, and thanks for participating. Grant, thanks again for driving up. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you guys on the flip side. I got to go. I'm in trouble. You already know I'm in trouble. I got some stuff I got to do, and I'm already going to get yelled at. So you guys listen in, rewind it, break this up into little pieces, watch what you can when you can. But at the end, realize that it was just 2 dudes doing the best we could and trying to move forward one day at a time. This was a big stepping stone for Gen X Talks. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.